go, here we go, here we go. Welcome to the show, you know. Monica, Mo, justice in the mix. Bringing truth with no tricks. Mama Mo, here we go. Welcome to the show, you know. Monica, Mo, justice in the mix. Bringing truth with no tricks. Saturday's our day to shine. Focus on books and storylines. Courtroom drama commentary. Keeping it real, never scary. Mo justice dropping wisdom. Weekend vibes, you can't miss them. Open your mind, let the truth be told. From the cases big to the bold. Deep dive into legal scenes. Breaking down what justice means. Analyzing every clue we find. No stone left unturned, no mind left blind.
Okay, good afternoon and welcome to Mo Knows, featuring me, Monica Mo Justice. All right, my mic sounds nice. Check one. Okay, out there for outer space. All right, I wanted to bring my discussion from yesterday full circle and give examples of what I was talking about to help illustrate the points I was making. So, just to recap on where we are at. I don't know what day it was, but earlier this week there was a hearing. I believe it was on the 17th. There was a bond hearing for one of the There was a bond hearing for I'm just gonna call him Yak Gotti just to keep it the way I keep it. He is the only defendant as of right now on the YSL RICO case that was filed in 2022 by Georgia that was fully acquitted of all charges charged against him, and or some charges were dismissed. But at the end of the day, he was fully acquitted. So the short end of the stick is he didn't take any plea deals. He didn't, he took it to trial. That's a song that he got out there. He took it to trial and he prevailed. Between time, while he was incarcerated, and he was incarcerated pending the outcome of the trial because he was denied bond, as he was now, right? So he got into two altercations, or a few altercations. It sounds like he had 13 different situations that took place while he was incarcerated. Being detained without bond, okay? So not while he was doing time, he was doing crimes, but while he was being detained. And I think that it's extremely important to emphasize that he was detained, refused bond, and he got into some incidents while he was being held. Okay, so he wins his case, and because he got into some skirmishes and I'm not minimizing the incidents, but I'm just telling you what they are. Because he got into some skirmishes while he was incarcerated, it doesn't even make sense to me. He was held, and he had a bond hearing to see if they could put bonds on the issues. Now, I'll go into the video and you can hear it for yourself, because it sounds like there was 13 incidents that he was involved in while he was held on bond. I think that's the best way to put it. While he was held on bond, he got into 13 incidents, and of the 13 incidents, 2 thus far have been brought to the prosecutor's office for prosecution, right? And there's a potential third one. One of the 2, so let's just say one of the 3. One of the 3 has been indicted and is being forwarded to Judge Witt, right? So it's going before the judge that was in the case where he was acquitted from. And the second one is before the judge that denied his bonds. And the third one is to be determined, but we know it's from the December 1st incident wherein he had stitches to the head. All incidents as purported by or as alleged by the prosecution or by the state, the government, all incidents, they're considering him to be the aggressor. But anyway, I wanted to come back and really focus in on what I was saying to make it make sense for all of us. All right, so I was critiquing Kayla Bumpus. That's the attorney that Yak Gotti retained to represent him in the outstanding matters, right? So she's representing him in the bond request and the resolution of the 2 or 3 matters that are coming before the court that were a result of him being held without bonds. So yesterday I was reading the emergency bond hearing request that was granted because he had the hearing. And I was saying that it lacked detail. It wasn't thorough enough, right? And it didn't put out a persuasive argument as to why the client, why Yak Gotti shouldn't be detained any further, right? I didn't feel even the request for the motion, I felt like the motion in and of itself lacked enough teeth to it. All right. And then I also stated that the presentation at court, so I'm going to say the argument presented, and I listened to it again, lacked the things that they were supposed to be there, which is relating to the Ayala factors. It's spelled Ayala, right? So, what are the Ayala factors? So I think I'm gonna start with that, what those are, and what the expectation should be when you go to a bonds hearing, right? You are presenting to the court. You're answering 4 questions, and you can see that they're answering 4 questions because in the judge's denial, he has those 4 items already listed in his response, and all he does is tick a box to say which one you don't meet, which is the reasons why he's not granting you a bond, right? So one is risk of flight. The second one is danger to the community. The third one is risk of committing another felony while out. And the fourth one is risk of intimidating witnesses. Those are the arguments that attorneys come before the court and say, listen, these are the reasons why you should allow my client out on bond, because they are not a flight risk. They're not a danger to the community. There's no risk of committing another felony, and there's no risk of intimidating the witness. As far as I heard, we'll go back and listen to what Kayla said and see if they met the Ayala factors. Other things that are into consideration before the judge when you go to a bonds hearing that you would try to sweeten the deal about your client is you would provide the judge with information as to what your client is going to be doing for gainful employment while out and about on bond, right? So you would talk about any employment or how they would be able to meet financial needs during that period of time. And of course, there are things that will work against your client, and that's where the good old state comes in, and they get a chance to present everything in the negative as to why they believe that the person is a flight risk, a danger to the community, is at risk of committing additional crimes while out, may intimidate a witness. They will give kind of statements to that effect. And then there is the judge then looks for your character or your past history and would probably ask the probation department, do they have a record? What is this defendant's history with the criminal system in the legal process, right? And they would come up and they would be able to cite the person's criminal record. And what's important is if there's any like things of not appearing in court, because the reason for setting the bond is it's a surety that the person is going to return. Okay, so I am going to play for you a snippet of the case before Yak's case, right? It's a different scenario, but I want you to hear the compelling argument that the attorney who won was retained by the community, right, to represent that client, and how she argued her case, or how she argued for the freedom of her client. How she argued for the freedom of her client, and how she addressed the Aola factors. And then we're going to look at how attorney Bumpus addressed the same issues. And then you can go from there. I'm going to feel the way I feel, and you could feel the way you feel, but no matter what. What's up, Becky? You know, Becky, we're going to behave ourselves today, okay? You're not going to egg me on. you see my new effect. Oh, wait a minute, I ain't even here. Hold up. See, Becky, it takes you to come. So now here we go. All right. Oh, I hope this comes out right. Hold up. I don't know which one it's gonna be. Now you can see me. Now you can see me. Yes, there I is here, girl. Ain't nobody tell me nothing because I'm looking at myself. I ain't looking at myself. I'm just talking my mess. I'm just talking my mess. You know what? Hold up. Let me do something else because I've been messing around with my studio around here and stuff. Hold up. Let me roll up. Hold up. I don't know what this thing is called. I don't know how I took this off of here, but I took something somewhere. I did something. Oh, it's over here. All right, hold up. I think I know what I did. I did it over here. Okay, I did it over here. I don't know how I did that, though. I don't remember how I did that. Hold up. All right, we're going to see if... I've been playing with my settings. I'm so sorry. I just been trying to do things just a little bit differently. Hold up. Now I really messed up stuff. Y'all see my new emoji effects though? Yeah, I've been doing something. Hold up. Now I messed everything all up. Messing around with the camera. Hold up. I know I'm gone again because I gotta go back over here to the. I gotta go back over here to the camera. I don't even know where I am. All right, hold up. That's me. That's me. Let me come over here to here. All right. I messed this up. I know I did. I should have left well enough alone. You should have said, leave that alone, Mo. Don't mess with that. Girl, because you're going to mess everything up. Ah! Because I did. I did do that. Yes, it is. It's snowing. Well, it was raining. It was like snaining. I messed it all up. Why you let me mess it up? Hold up 1 second. No, I don't know what I did. I really messed it. I really messed that up. I really messed that up. Yeah, go ahead, hit emojis, girl. Like I was up there doing all kinds of crazy stuff earlier. That's supposed to help engagement. It's to let y'all play along because it looked like we ain't gonna have no face today. I know. Hold up, I'm taking a deep breath. I don't know what I did, but I really messed that up. I really messed that up. All right, so we're gonna come back down here. I don't even know where the damn going thing is. I swear, I'm gonna be up here cussing or something. I'm gonna be doing something. I messed up the camera. Hold up. All right, we gonna go back in here. Look at y'all now. Yeah, entertain yourselves while I try to fix my big mistake. I don't know what I did. But I bet you one thing, I'm deleting all of these. Yes, I'm sure. All right, so I'm back. I'm back. All right, we keeping me like this. All right. Look, I'm in 2D. Ow, go Momo. Go Momo. Ow, go girl. We ain't Okay. Okay. All right. I'm not a lawyer. I am a paralegal. And I'm in finance, banking law. That's what I dip and dive in. But this 2025, I am going back to school. I'm going to further my little degree, and I think I'm taking criminal. I submitted all my paperwork. You shouldn't talk about stuff like this, but anyway, I submitted all my paperwork, so um, I'm waiting to see who's gonna take me, and that's the end of that. Okay, so here we are.
Okay.
All right. So here we are. I'm gonna now. Now I got to do the next thing. I'm going to the next thing. Let's see if this is gonna be the footage. No. All right. I don't got time for this. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna insert. It's not a display. It's going to be a. Is this a video capture device? No. We're gonna call this a. Is that going to be a browser? Let's see if it's a browser. No, I don't. I think it's not a browser. I don't think it's a browser. So we're gonna delete this. Delete, 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 delete. We're gonna go to delete. Where's delete at? How? Why don't they just say delete? All right, hold on. We are going to go to insert a window capture. Is it? No, I think it's a media source. Oh, maybe it is. Hold up. It might be a media source. Let's try this one. Let's see if this works. You know what? I'm I'm not having a good day with this. Why doesn't this thing work for me? All right, delete. See, when you're about to do something, this is what happens. Girl, you want to talk about Pandora's? Do we got a moment? I could always break from Pandora break. Girl, yes, this is my butterfly Pandora. So it's between purple and butterflies. Everything about it is the butterflies. If you know the story of the butterfly, you know it starts off as a cat, as a girl. What's up with? That's my mother freaking girl. That's my best friend from way back when we were little girls on the internet. But wait a minute. All right. You, you see how bad this is? We supposed to be talking about this other stuff, but we back to the Pandoras. So this is so on here are all the things that have to do with going from something ugly to something beautiful. Sometimes we in life we experience things that are the ugliest moments in our life and then they turn into something beautiful. And for each of my charms, I've been through something ugly in life and it morphed into something beautiful. And then the second bracelet is I got the heart one, and everything I love is comboed up there. So it's just like little things like so when people give you the one offs and stuff like that, because somebody buys you a Pandora, that means that they love you in some way, shape, or fashion, right? So that's where we are at. It's man, y'all don't know. Wit and I, that's just how life is. Personally, if I put you in my friend category, you are my friend for life. I will have to come and like suck the air out of you, right? Choke you to death or something in order to separate us. Because I don't use that word friend too lightly. And, I got to be willing to go through something with some people because I got some real doozies of some friends that I done made throughout the years. But I've kept them because without them, there's no me. You understand? That whole experience of knowing whoever that person is and whatever it is they bring to the table, they bring to the table for a reason. And it ain't for a season, it be for a reason. So for me, I just be like, I don't understand this. So when I do the intro, all right, when I'm over here, it's supposed to be that. Oh no, I don't want that one. I think I'm figuring it out, but I'm not really figuring it out. I think it's this one. I figured it out. So I just like to keep my peoples close to me. That's all I'm saying. And to me they be lifetime friends. All right, this one we're going to get rid of. This is so annoying. All right, that's the one we're going to keep. I fixed it. So I'm coming in with the fixer upper. I fixed it and I just gotta. All right, so I think I got this together. I ain't always the sharpest tool in the shed, but I'll be up there. I'll be up there. All right, so we gonna go to. Can y'all see this? I hope y'all can see this. Let me transition so it makes some sense. All right, so here we are. So, we got Abati sitting here. I don't know what that is right there, but I don't think that's the guy. Yo, some of these people. All right, so I want y'all to look at this chick, right? Tell me if I need to blow her up. If I need to blow it up or something. Hold up. Yes, you can see it? Okay, good. No, but you the brightest bulb in the Hanukkah bush. You just want to get your emojis up there. I know that's right. Okay. Is this Wit from the OG holidays under telling us about back at Turkey Day? I hear that about. All right, girl. Bye. All right. I don't know what you're saying to me. Let me just see if I could blow it up just a little bit more. Which one is that? All right. Remember, I am working. I don't have that stuff that the other people have, right? They be using that other stuff. All right, we're going to leave well enough alone before I've been messed up something and then I can't fix it. And then we be sitting up here for hours. All right, here we go. Here we go. All right. Remember, we're now listening for the Iola factors.
Pretrial check-ins. As far as the third Iola factor, risk of committing new offenses, Mr. Williams
I just want to make sure that we seeing this chick, right? She looked like a whole hot mess, like she got here on a Sunday, and hair looking, I don't know what that was. So I'm gonna say, she a young attorney. That's why I'm making apples to apples here, right? I'm looking at her as being a young attorney, not that many years experience, but she came to court to represent her client. So here we go. I'm taking her back a notch because she's already talking about the ILO factors, okay?
Robinson Baker, make sure you do that. All right, Ms. Iacella, when you're ready. I think it's easier for Ms. Rivers to hear you if you do that. Thank you.
Good morning, Your Honor. Thank you for the opportunity to present this bond argument on behalf of Mr. Darrell Eric Williams, a man who stands before this court accused of a serious charge, murder. While the charge is significant.
Okay, Yak ain't even got one of those charges, right? This dude is up here with a murder charge, okay? But we checking out the style of his attorney.
Mr. Williams is presumed innocent, and the purpose of bond is not to punish, but to ensure his appearance in court and protect the community. We respectfully submit that Mr. Williams is not a flight risk, is not a danger to the community, and is not a risk of committing new offenses or obstructing justice. Under Ayala, these four factors guide the court's decision on bond, and the facts of Mr. Williams' case support the granting of bond. In addition, I must bring the court's attention to Mr. Williams' significant and urgent medical concerns. Mr. Williams suffers from chronic kidney disease, is a kidney transplant recipient, is diabetic, and also suffers from neuropathy. These conditions require regular medical care, specialized medication, and monitoring that the Fulton County Jail is ill-equipped to provide. Denying him bond under these circumstances would expose him to substantial and unnecessary risk to his health. Lastly, it is critical for the court to know that Mr. Williams is the person who called 911 during the incident that led to his arrest. This act of seeking help does not align with the actions of someone trying to flee, evade, or obstruct justice. Due to a miscommunication with responding officers.
Okay, listen. When I was listening to this, I was like, what? Him done killed the whole man and he called the police. Now let's just let's just take a pause moment That's some real gangster stuff, right? I'm gonna shoot you, and then I'm gonna go ahead and call for medical attention for you. Yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up. You understand what I'm saying? That's what's up. Stop messing with some people. Leave some people alone. That's what you need to do. This is a lesson to leave some people alone.
Mr. Williams was charged. We are confident that as the facts unfold, the charges will be reconsidered. But in the meantime, we ask that the court grant him a bond so he can receive the medical care he urgently requires. The first Ayala factor asks whether Mr. Williams poses a risk of flight. The evidence clearly shows that he does not. Mr. Williams was the 911 caller and not a fleeing suspect. The most compelling evidence that Mr. Williams is not a flight risk is the fact that he is the person who called 911 and was not fleeing the scene, hiding, or attempting to avoid law enforcement. Instead, he actively sought help.
Now, I'm not even gonna be funny, right? The reason why the reason why Attorney Bumpus couldn't say this is because Yak ran when the police showed up. Well, I would be reading my notes too. I'm not gonna hold you, right? I'm gonna say that I'm an inexperienced attorney, right? So I'm looking at her as a young attorney. She's doing the right thing. She's making sure that she hits all her key talking points for her client. So she comes in with a written document in front of her that, of course, she's reading it, but at least she coming prepared to argue for the benefit of her client. She's doing everything in the best interest of her client. So we just gonna pop this up ahead 30 seconds because, we don't need all of that. But let's finish. Let's see what else she does. That was Ayala factor number 1. Let's see.
He's the father of 4 children, 2 adult daughters, and 2 young boys. He volunteers with food distribution programs to give back to those who have less than him. His friends care for him so deeply that they reached out to me when they were unable to find him around Thanksgiving and subsequently located him on the inmate roster at the Fulton County Jail.
Now, do you hear this? Do you hear her, right? She has now inserted herself into the case, right? And the reason why I'm pointing this out, because I want you to hear how she inserts herself, right? His caring friends reached out, retained me, right? Because later on, there's a point when, I'm sorry, Miss Jackson, it is for real. When she inserts herself into her soliloquy. I'm just saying.
I agreed to handle this hearing pro bono because I was moved by the love and concern of his friends who were desperate to help a man they described as thoughtful, generous, and kind. Mr. Williams has no history of failing to appear for court proceedings. He has shown compliance with all legal obligations and has no pattern of attempting to evade responsibility. The second Ayala factor asks whether Mr. Williams poses a danger to the community. Here, there's no credible evidence to support such a finding. Mr. Williams does not have a serious prior history of violence or any criminal history involving firearms or weapons. The court is not being asked to evaluate a person with a pattern of dangerous behavior. It's also worth noting that Mr. Williams is 61 years old and does not have a history of weapons charges. Mr. Williams' role as the person who called 911 is critical to this analysis. His actions show that he sought help, not harm. The fact that the charges rose from a miscommunication with responding officers should be carefully considered. If the court has concerns about community safety, Mr. Williams is willing to submit to restrictive bond conditions, including curfews or electronic monitoring and pretrial check-ins. As far as the third
she's offering the court stuff. She's like, yo, my client is willing to do XYZ if the court, blah, 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 blah. He's got this little operation or something. I think he needs I think he's a kidney transplant patient, right? Girl, bye. This man was cutting up in the 90s. The 90s was like 30 years ago. So 30 years ago when he was 31, he was a hot mess. He was a hot honey mess, okay? Here we go.
Malefactor, risk of committing new offenses. Mr. Williams does not have a pattern of repeated offenses. His record shows that he has been a law-abiding member of the community. He does have a pending battery charge from July, but as that case unfolds, it will be clear that he was defending himself from attack. Mr. Williams' primary focus is his health. Managing kidney disease, diabetes, and neuropathy leaves little room for anything else. His medical condition creates a natural structure in his life that drastically reduces the likelihood of reoffending. If there's any doubt, like I said, he is willing to submit to restrictive bond conditions. And there's no indication that Mr. Williams would interfere with the administration of justice. He has no history of obstructing justice, tampering with witnesses, or evading legal obligations. And it bears repeating that he is the one who actively invited law enforcement to the scene and was not attempting to flee. And again, I would emphasize Mr. Williams' urgent and unique health needs, which the Fulton County Jail, frankly, does not have the capacity to address or provide the level of care that he requires.
Notice, she talking about they do not have the capacity to provide the level care, yada, 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 for her client, right? This is advocacy 101, all right? Same day. Now imagine you sitting in a courtroom with your red bottoms on and you hearing this go down before you. Is at that moment you say, I ain't even ready. It ain't even a matter of I stay ready. Girl, you didn't even get ready. Here we go. I'm fast forwarding a little bit. I think she's now being asked questions by the judge.
Conditions the court sees fit to impose. In conclusion, I would submit that the 4 Ayala factors weigh in favor of granting Mr. Williams a bond. He is not a flight risk. He is not a threat to the community. He has no risk of reoffending, and his medical needs create an urgent and compelling reason for his release. For these reasons, I respectfully ask that Mr. Williams be granted a bond. Thank you.
All right. We'll have one question, and then there may be follow-up.
I'm going to need the pause because I know y'all can't see this, and I got to figure which video this is because I do have to zoom in just a little bit more. I think it's this one. I have to zoom this in just a little bit more. Do you see girlfriend's top? Like, what the heck is she wearing to court? I'm sorry. I missed the memo. What does girlie have on? No, she's wearing one of those. She's wearing like a black shirt that's like laced up in here. It's like the nightclub shirt. Yes, it's like a fish. Becky, it's you and me. It's you and me. It's one of the moments, right? So this is like when you're saying comparing apples to oranges, this is what I'm doing right here because I'm just trying to make sure people see that this is equivalent, right? So we're saying, you came with the capris. Man, this looked like she went to, what was that club? Like she came from Club Crucial into work. She wrote. Can I?
From you after we hear from the state. Is it your understanding of the situation that Mr. Williams was on the outside allegedly shooting in, or he was on the inside allegedly shooting out? If you know anything about the situation.
So my understanding of the situation is that Mr. Williams was in his home and heard shots outside his house and called 911 from the inside of his residence.
Okay. All right.
Is at that moment she lost the whole this is when she lost the whole thing. Mo, but her client does not have a warrant. No, her client is in custody. He was arrested for assaulting this man. And it was an assault case or something to that agree, or something like attempted. They're gonna tell us it was like attempted murder, right? And then a couple of weeks later, the guy succumbed to his injuries, and it's now been escalated to murder.
Thank you.
That's all right. Abati's about to get up here and tear her a whole new Beetlejuice outfit.
Good morning, Judge.
Good morning.
The state would respectfully request you deny defense counsel's motion for bond for several reasons. The first being that the defendant does have 3 prior felony convictions, making him an A and C recidivist, in the sense that if convicted after trial, he'd be facing a mandatory life without the possibility of parole sentence. Furthermore, the state would submit to the court that the defendant is a risk of flight due to the strength of the case, in that Mr. Williams is seen on the ring camera waving a gun around after he.
Okay, homie was caught on the ring camera waving a gun around. But I don't know if he said, let's see if they caught the incident on the ring camera as well. Only thing I don't like is Abati does all of this, but the man lives there too. He's a resident. These are neighbors having a dispute. I'm just saying.
Shoots it through the door at the victim, who was inside of his home, who was struck in the face and ultimately dies.
So that was what I was asking Ms. Iasello about. Mr. Clark is the decedent.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Clark is in his home, or he is in Mr. Williams's home?
Mr. Clark is in his home, and
Meaning Mr. Clark's home.
Mr. Clark's home, yes.
And what you say that the ring cam video would show is that Mr. Williams would be outside the door, not of Mr. Williams's home, but outside of Mr. Clark's home.
That is correct.
And shoots into Mr. Clark's home.
That is correct.
Okay.
And actually shoots through the door and strikes Mr. Clark on the left side of his head. Ultimately, police are called and medical attention is attempted, but about 20 days later, he does succumb to his injuries due to being shot in the head. So I would submit to the court that he is a threat or danger to people in the community in it, as he shot Mr. Clark through his own door, unarmed at the time, and posing no threat to the defendant, excuse me.
Ms. Iasello indicated that Mr. Williams was the one who called the police and that he stayed on scene. Is that your understanding of the facts?
He is one of 3 people who called the police. He is actually the 3rd individual who called the police. The first 2 described that Mr. Williams was outside of the doors of not only their apartments, it's a 4-unit apartment building or home, and he was.
Is Mr. Williams?
See how he got to clean this up right now? Mr. Williams lives there too. He, something was going on. This a little shaky McShaky around here. These people be telling, like they don't never want to give us the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Everybody got their own little figures in here. Hold up. Let me roll up. Wait a second. This thing just gets on my darn nerve. All right, we'll just leave that alone. All right, let's go.
It was one of the 4 occupants?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay, so he's around his own space, may not have been his door, but it wasn't that he lived across town and came to this place.
Correct.
Okay.
Outside of their doors, screaming threats at all parties who were around and living in the apartment building. So 2 individuals called, 2 females called 911 indicating that, and that they saw Mr. Williams outside their doors and the door of Mr. Clark waving the firearm, and then heard a single shot. Mr. Williams did then call 911 and was incoherent, I guess is the best way to put it. He was under the influence of something, would be what the state would submit to the court, and he indicated that someone had just shot his brother, and I can clearly state to the court that Mr. Clark is not Mr. Williams' brother. And he did remain on scene. Upon the officers arriving, he did admit to shooting Mr. Clark through the door. So I can agree with defense counsel as it relates to that. So based on all the factors, Your Honor, and all the totality of the circumstances, the state would submit to the court that at this time, Mr. Williams is not a good candidate for bond and should remain in the custody.
So did you hear him? He said, based on the Ayala factors, he should not be let out again. Bada, 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 right? So everybody's talking about Ayala, except for, well, we'll see in a moment.
Of Fulton County Jail.
Do you have any information? I don't know that they'd be reaching out to you. I'll be doing some outreach about the jail's ability to tend to Mr. Williams's health needs.
I don't. I can. Obviously reach out to whoever needs to be reached out to. I neglected to inform the court as well, the incident that occurred that defense counsel had referenced that Mr. Williams was out on bond for. It was
Darn it, thanks for telling me. All I'm saying, at that moment, you know that you're not going home. You stuck there.
An assault from July of this year. It was actually an assault on the same victim.
Mr. Clark.
Yes, and there are eyewitnesses who.
Okay, Mr. Clark and him had some issues going on, all right? He done got the guy and shot him up by November. No, he done had a fight with him in July, and by November, it was lights out. Well, I mean, I'm not saying that she had the best arguments. I'm just saying she came to court ready to argue. I ain't mad at her for coming to court ready to argue.
Watch Mr. Williams out of nowhere begin to attack Mr. Clark as he sat on the porch and was defenseless at that point as well.
All right, thank you. Ms. ISL, I'll hear from you again. I forgot to ask Ms. Jackson from Pretrial Services about Mr. Williams's criminal history. It sounds like Ms. Jackson, Mr. Williams has some convictions. I'm curious how old they are, if they're from the 1990s or if they're from 2 years ago. What information do you have?
Okay, they're from the 90s, Your Honor. He has 18 cycles. The last arrest was July the 19th, 2000.
They're often, majority of them from the late 1990s. The most recent one is from 2002. The terrorist threats out of DeKalb County.
Okay. Ms. Nelson or Ms. Hansberry, can you call IT so we can figure out why we're not Mr. Williams?
I'm fast forwarding. I think I made my point. We seen people argue Iola, right? You see Iola? Iola is in the house, okay? We know that this judge is talking Iola. He's thinking Iola. Iola is everywhere that he's at. Okay, so here we go. He say some more things to Mr. Jackson, Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams is out the door, okay? All right, so now we got the changing of the guard. You see this? So they was in the house. I'll just go back 10 seconds. So we all know that people was in the house and they observed courtroom at play. Okay, here we go.
Okay, we'll do that.
Okay, this is gonna kill me. I I stand corrected. Red Bottoms has just entered the room with her client. So maybe she missed all of this, you know. She missed all the stuff.
Thank you.
What him doing? Why him over there? What him doing? Oh, you want? Sorry, Miss Jackson. It's for real. She was wearing a pair of something red bottoms. Only reason why I know is because that other reporter that has a YouTube channel, you know, the dentist dude, he took a picture of her and he said, now she giving me her backside. In the picture with the backside, you can see the bottom of the shoes. So I'm calling her Miss Red Bottoms, okay? I ain't, you know, if I ain't got nothing, you know how that goes. All right, here we go. Notice Abati has left the courtroom.
Mr. Rao, are you handling this or do we need Mr. Abate back? You're handling, okay. Let's get one thing up here on the screen.
A lot of moving around going on. I'm just realizing girlfriend done went in the back. Then went got her bag now. She coming back. All right, let's see. Oh, she got her attache case. Is that a Chanel? Oh, maybe that's a Birkin. I don't know. I can't see it. It look like a book
All right. Ms. Rivers, are you ready? Yes. Okay, this is 24 SC 004460 and 23 SC 188186. Both of these are State versus Kendrick. Hello, Mr. Kendrick. How are you doing? I'm all right. How are you doing? I bet you could if you wanted to. I'm Judge McBurney, and we are going to work through bond in your two cases. You've got one case that's assigned to me in which you're charged with aggravated battery, aggravated assault, and riot. You've got a whole bunch of co-defendants in that case. And you have an older case that is assigned to Judge Whitaker, in which you are charged with having an iPhone and AirPods while you were in the county jail.
Okay, so he's got the contraband case before Whitaker. I'm sorry, I have to write my notes while we here, right? So the contraband, he got a contraband case before Judge Witt. And this assault case is with this judge. Okay, let's go.
Ms. Bumpus represents you. Ms. Bumpus, are you representing Mr. Kendrick for bond only or through the duration of these two cases?
Through the duration, Your Honor.
Excellent. So Ms. Bumpus is here for the whole ride, and then Mr. Rao is representing the state. But like I said, all we're doing today is talking about bond. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Bumpus, hear from her about why you're a good candidate for bond in these two cases and what that bond should look like. And then I'll hear from Mr. Rao, and then you'll hear from me when you're ready.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
And if you don't mind, I'm going to condense both the cases into one argument.
That's fine.
Okay. I'm just going to keep it short.
I'm just going to condense both the cases into one argument. Yeah. What is this button for?
and sweet, as well as this honorable court, I'm pretty sure it knows, Mr. Kendrick has been in custody since May 9th, 2022. He has since been found not guilty on.
Okay, I want to interrupt this terrible incident right here. Just to say a few things. Remember, this is a this is a bond hearing wherein the defendant requested an emergency bond hearing. So I think that the first thing that should be coming out of somebody's mouth, but this is just me. You know, I ain't been no lawyer, but I think the first thing one would be saying is like, yo, we are here urgently to get so and so out of this situation. Like, I would now be expressing what the urgency is, and I would be thanking the judge for taking up our case in this urgent, appreciate you taking on this case urgently, like something like, sweetening up the judge instead of telling the judge, I'm gonna be short and sweet and cute and stink.
Good morning.
And if you don't mind, I'm gonna condense both the cases into one argument.
That's fine.
Okay. I'm just gonna keep it short and sweet, as well as this honorable court, I'm pretty sure it knows, Mr. Kendrick has been in custody since May 9th, 2022. He has since been found not guilty on the charges that initially had him in custody. During those 2.5 years, he picked up these additional jail cases. The first case was picked up, as you stated, in April of 2023, the second in June of 2024. It is my understanding that Mr. Kendrick has 3 previous felony convictions, none of them being violent convictions. That is my understanding. And
that's the second thing that goes wrong for me, right? The first thing is that she didn't apologize or thank the court profusely for taking this urgent bond hearing. And then the second one is saying to the judge, like, wait a second. This is my belief. Girl, did you read the information? Do you know or don't you know? Right? Where you getting this information from?
as we know, that is one of the factors in this court considering the bond. The second factor I'd like to address, which is extremely.
I gotta back up because I missed one of the factors, and I want to know if it was our Iola, because maybe I missed something. So we're gonna go back because I might have missed something. So let me just shut up.
I'm just going to keep it short and sweet, as well as this honorable court, I'm pretty sure it knows, Mr. Kendrick has been in custody since May 9th, 2022. He has since been found not guilty on the charges that initially had him in custody. During those 2.5 years, he picked up these additional jail cases. The first case was picked up, as you stated, in April of 2023, the second in June of 2024. It is my understanding that Mr. Kendrick has 3 previous felony convictions, none of them being violent convictions. That is my understanding. And as we know, that is one of the factors in this court considering the bond.
Okay, so according to her, one of the factors in considering a bond is what?
Two and a half years, he picked up these additional jail cases. The first case was picked up, as you stated, in April of 2023, the second in June of 2024. It is my understanding that Mr. Kendrick has 3 previous felony convictions, none of them being violent convictions.
Okay, so not being a violent conviction is one of her Iola factors. So not being violent. So I guess she's equating that to not being a danger to the community. All right. So now I understand. Because I'm just trying to make sure I get an understanding of what she said and what I understand Iola factor to be. Okay?
That is my understanding. And as we know, that is one of the factors in this court considering the bond. The second factor I'd like to address, which is extremely important to me, is community ties. And this is important to me as an attorney because
all right, this is not your performance in front of your professor. It's not important to you right now that matters. It's what's important to the court. It's the court, lady. You're talking to the court. Can I get a court? It's not what's important to you. It's what's important to the court. I backed us up a moment. I'm going to try to be quiet.
in June of 2024. It is my understanding that Mr. Kendrick has 3 previous felony convictions, none of them being violent convictions. That is my understanding. And as we know, that is one of the factors in this court considering the bond. The second factor I'd like to address, which is extremely important to me, is community ties. And this is important to me as an attorney because Mr. Kendrick has family support. He has a lot of support. And not only are they here today, but they have been in court with him almost every day for the past 2.5 years. And I think that shows that he has a support system standing behind him. And he has a lot of accountability and responsibility to do the right thing if he's given the opportunity to be given a bond. This is a jail incident, Your Honor, and I come before you a lot, and it's very sad to say, but normally when I pick up a client who I can't get a bond for immediately, that's a double client because they're gonna get a jail case. It's almost inevitable, and especially when you have been sitting in jail for 2.5 years for something that you essentially are found not guilty for. And had he not been there, this would not have happened. He has no reason, I don't even think he has an ability to contact the victim in this case if he is granted the opportunity to be given a bond.
Happy Sabbath, Brooklyn.
Also, I would like to talk about the aggravated assault, aggravated battery, and riot charges. I did not represent Mr. Kendrick, and he did not have an opportunity to sit in the preliminary hearing on this case, but there was a preliminary hearing held on this case.
When you say he wasn't able to sit in, he was in through Zoom, or?
No, he was in trial, but the co-defendants were.
Okay, so there was a prelim, not as to him personally and directly, because he was in 1C.
Yes, Judge.
But in 2B, 1 floor up, they went forward with some or most of the other defendants.
Yes, Judge.
Okay.
And in that case, it's my understanding that the judge decided that there was the facts did not arise to an aggravated assault, but a battery. And I know.
Your Honor, she just said to the judge, this stuff did not rise to an assault. It was a battery. Somebody got beat with an extension cord.
Know that, the state can then go and indict it and do what they do, but I just wanted the court to know that. In the bond motion that I filed, I specifically stated the DOJ report that was issued in November of 2024.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out why you put that there. So this is good. I need her to explain how this meets the Iola factors.
This is extremely concerning for me because my client knows this all too well because he was actually a victim of a stabbing on December 1st. And You are very familiar with how it goes when people are close to release and when people are in high profile cases, and there is a target on his back. And, I'm not sure, but there are also some people who may not be very happy with the not guilty verdict in this case and what he has alleged.
What does any of this has to do with the Iola factors? I'm going to run them back. Risk of flight, danger to the community, risk of committing a felony, risk of intimidating a witness. Those are the 4 Iola factors. What is she doing?
To have been a part of, but found not guilty of. I don't believe Mr. Kendrick has any history of FTAs. I have watched him fight for his life for 2.5 years, and I can only imagine the resources it took to afford an attorney, to afford clothes, to afford everything that he had to do. But he
Okay, it's at that moment to afford clothes. I am sitting here shocked. What's up, Miss Indy? I'm sitting here shocked. She is standing before the judge and she's going to tell the judge that her client should be free because he's able to afford her and to afford some clothes. I do believe she sounds nervous. It's because she's unprepared. She's not great in her craft, right? And somebody that I respect asked me to lay low on her, right? Because she's a young attorney. This is a woman in progress, right? So she's on route to being great things. And I'm not going to deny that, right? Cuz I don't know what her future entails, but I know her current needs some help. She needs to do some work on this. She needs to be prepared to be in court. She needs to take this more seriously because she's got people who are depending on her to be their advocate, fighting hard for their client. This was not a hard fight. The other lady didn't even know the dude that shot his neighbor in the face. Who caused him to go to the hospital and sit there for 20 days before he succumbed to his injuries after having beaten him to a pulpit a couple of months before that on the porch outside. You understand? That woman came prepared to say that lunatic needs to be out in the street. I'm going to back this up so we could listen to this again and digest this. And I'm going to remind us that the Iola factors that the judge considers is the defendant a flight risk? Is the defendant a danger to the community? If the defendant is released, is he subject to commit another felony while out on the street? And last but not least, is he capable of intimidating witnesses involved in this case? Those are the things that you are making an argument to this judge for bond, right?
You are very familiar with how it goes when people are close to release and when people are in high profile cases, and there is a target on his back. And, I'm not sure, but there are also some people who may not be very happy with the not guilty verdict in this case and what he has alleged to have been a part of, but found not guilty of. I don't believe Mr. Kendrick has any history of FTAs. I have watched him fight for his life for 2.5 years, and I can only imagine the resources it took to afford an attorney, to afford clothes, to afford everything that he had to do, but he still found a way to afford me, which means he takes this case serious, even though it's a jail case, which means me and him are going to work together to make sure he's back at every court date and do what we have to do so that he can follow any conditions given by this court. Considering the fact of everything, I'm asking the court to set a bond no higher than $20,000 on all the counts.
talk to me about,
Before the judge gets in to talk to me about anything, do you see why I was sitting at my desk listening to this about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, way after it happened? No, that's not no dumb nervous laugh. I didn't come here prepared. I didn't I thought this was Judge, you know me. You gonna let my client go? Cause you know he done sat in jail for the other thing and I need him to be free. You know how you know, Judge. I've been before you before. He can afford me. If he can afford me. If I was there and all I had was a tomato, she would be getting a tomato right now. Don't be standing corrected, young lady. Whatever you say it is, she is. But this woman is annoying to me. Like, it's just, well, maybe it is a nervous laugh. It's an unprepared attorney. Oh, you didn't see any of this? Girl, you ain't missed nothing. This is how she performed it. This why I was mad at her yesterday, and I said I'm gonna have to come back, because sometimes when I express disappointment in the process, right? People want to be discouraged. They want to be like, Mo, shut up. When I say, and this is what I said yesterday, and people that have known me in this space know I feel this way. I said, the worst thing for the black man at times is the black woman. This is an example of this. And I went on to say his mama is a problem too, right? Because he's been in a lot of the situations that he's been in where he's been found not guilty because of issues that started with his mama, right? He got introduced to this whole stuff with some issues that started with his mama. And he was found not guilty, rightfully so, and it puts a big target on his back. And you know, even seeing his mama on the stand after the verdict, after the acquittal, and she was standing on the steps and she was doing all that hooting and hollering, a mama's love, and all, a mama's love, okay, I'm gonna need the mama to cut it out and get a rein on it, because you was doing that performance and him not home yet. You ain't never seen, not being funky with it, but let's just be real. You ain't never seen Ahmaud Arbery's mama standing up on nobodies outside the courthouse carrying on like a banshee, like she just escaped from the asylum. Okay, I understand being frustrated, being overwhelmed, and being happy that you've overcome this part of the process. Now there's another part of the process. How could you afford Doug yesterday and get bargain basement Bumpus the next day? I don't understand it. Take that fly Dior suit and cash it in, because we want to see him walk the street. Yeah, I said it. Bargain basement Bumpus. As your representative, this is his new judge. I'm just saying. This is way too serious of an issue for this to be going down. Yes, Miss Indy, this is his new representative. I'm going to have to take bargain basement Bumpus back a minute with the red bottoms. He's able to afford me. He had the resources. I understand what she's trying to say. What she's trying to say is that he's not coming to you with open hands and a closed mouth because he's got a public defender. At this moment, I want him to have a public defender. I want him to have somebody that's going to be just that, a defender. This is a disgrace. And you know, I listen to other channels. Recall this right now. They in too deep with her, right? So, you know, they got a bias with it. But y'all gotta be honest with this. You got to be honest with this. This is not fair to him. This is actually a disgrace. And honestly, I'm gonna have to put my thoughts on this, right? Why would you hire Bumpus at this point? She's sleeping with the other defendant. In the case you just got off of, she went and married him in the midst of the whole. And then I had the nerve to see an X or tweet. An X tweet, whatever it is. And then it was like, I'm just staring. You think, girl, you're staring? I got other thoughts in my head, but you just staring? Like, come on. And then they said he made a cameo appearance at the Christmas party and this and that. Another person, she's making another spectacle out of one of the guys in the case. That's disgusting. She did that to Woody. You gonna give me a Birkin, a Kelly? Oh. And this is I don't know what part of the game this is, but if this how the streets are rolling, I don't want no parts.
In the bond motion that I filed, I specifically stated the DOJ report that was issued in November of 2024. This is extremely concerning for me because my client knows this all too well because he was actually a victim of a stabbing on December 1st. And you are very familiar with how it goes when people are close to release and when people are in high profile cases, and there is a target on his back. And, you know, I'm not sure, but there are also some people.
You're going to tell the world that there's a target on his back, and then you're going to follow it up with the next statement saying, I'm not sure. Booyaka, booyaka. You're supposed to be like, hey, there's a target on my client's back. They brought these they went ahead and indicted these cases, but that's not true. That's not true because the case been indicted sometime in June. He just wasn't there for it because he was down on the other case. So you can't even make this argument with a straight face.
Who may not be very happy with the not guilty verdict in this case and what he has alleged to have been.
But normally I'd be cutting up. I'd be like on fire, and then it'd be like, I'm gonna need some water for that. Okay, here we go.
I have watched him fight for his life for 2.5 years, and I can only imagine the resources it took to afford an attorney, to afford clothes, to afford everything that he had to do, but he still found a way to afford me, which means he takes this case serious, even though it's a jail case, which means me and him are gonna work together to make sure he's back at every court date and do what we have to do so that he can follow any conditions given by this court. Considering the fact of everything, I'm asking the court to set a bond no higher than $20,000 on all the counts.
Talk to me about where Mr. Kendrick would stay. I don't mean a specific address, but with whom, what that setting would be, and what kind of work he would be able to do if he's going to be working when he gets out.
All right, before Bumpus bumps her gums, let me tell you, this is the worst answer out of all the answers. It is at this moment that you just want to go and be like, Get a GoFundMe, go pull up a GoFraudMe, go somebody's funds. Because if Yak ain't got the money to replace bargain basement Bumpus, I don't know what else there is to say. But let's take it back 10 seconds and then let's see what her response to the two questions. Where is he going to stay? And I want you to listen to language also that the judge uses, right? You know you in trouble when somebody says, I trust you've had this conversation before. That moment, when you hear language like I trust, it's a silent cry like, girl, don't be standing in front of me telling me something and you ain't vet this better. I trust you've done this, but I don't really think that you have. That's why I'm going to tell you I trust that you've done this. And if you haven't done it, it's about up there where we had other attorneys telling her on a stream that I trust that you've been down there to so-and-so to make sure that you are ethically sound. Yeah. I trust is a moment. Let's just go, but I take it back. She looking down. I want to know when she got that doodle face looking at the judge like, and he just like, I had enough of this. Let me just ask you some questions.
Money to afford clothes, to afford everything that he had to do, but he still found a way to afford me, which means he takes this case serious, even though it's a jail case, which means me and him are going to work together to make sure he's back at every court date and do what we have to do so that he can follow any conditions given by this court.
Do you see the prosecutor's face? The one over here looking like a weak Tina Turner. And then this dude right here, whatever, he come from. Do you see? They're sitting there like, girl, bye. Girl, bye. Oh, my girl. Pause. I got to do a pause. Girl, how are you? I was just about to send the FBI to go to you and see what you were up to. Wait a minute. I've been missing you, girl. Where you been? Where you been? Welcome back to the chat. Okay. Public defenders take these cases seriously. People always are bumping their gums, right? About public defenders, right? But I think you would get more in them than this one. Right. Don't forget to hit the emojis. Mo got emoji heaven going on up in here. All right, so here we go.
Considering the fact of everything, I'm asking the court to set a bond no higher than $20,000 on all the counts.
Talk to me about where Mr. Kendrick would stay. I don't mean a specific address, but with whom, what that setting would be, and what kind of work he would be able to do if he's going to be working when he gets out. And I know some of those are strange questions because he's been in for 2.5 years. So it's not like there's a job at this firm where he was working. Hey, we held your spot for 2.5 years. But I trust you and he have discussed something about the structure that would be in place. And that would help me understand what Mr. Kendrick would be up to and not up to should he be released.
You think she got an answer for this? Let us take a moment to listen to this.
Your Honor, Mr. Kendrick was a recording artist and is a recording artist, and not just.
Mr. Kendrick was a recording artist and is a recording artist. Your Honor, Mr. Kendrick would like to resume his life after being acquitted a couple of days ago, right? I would have had the days counted up, right? We was on the 17th, he was acquitted on the 3rd or whatever it is. I would have been like, the last 14 days for the past 2 weeks, he's been trying to get back to where he was at. He wants to get back into this judge is funky though. He funky with the shade. I like these funky judges. But he was or he is not like any old rapper. Wait. She got levels of being a rapper. Let's go.
I trust you and he have discussed something about the structure.
Yeah. He trusts nothing. He know they ain't done nothing. And then she opened her mouth and she confirmed that there was nothing to be trusted. That part.
That would be in place. And that would help me understand what Mr. Kendrick would be up to and not up to should he be released.
Your Honor, Mr. Kendrick was a recording artist and is a recording artist, and not just, our typical, I'm a rapper, but a real one. And as soon as he's released, I believe he's going to start back making music. And before this, and I have pictures ready to present if the court wants to see, but I'm an officer of the court. But he was coaching Little League. He was performing.
Does anybody understand what that mumbo jumbo was? I got pictures. Did she say she got pictures? I got pictures. Is that? I need to go back. Notice, y'all see her little body language. She's up in the courtroom in a mini skirt, tight, black tights, mini skirt. The other one was a mess before her. She's just the follow on. It's the same thing.
Was a recording artist and is a recording artist, and not just, our typical, I'm a rapper, but a real one. And as soon as he's released, I believe he's going to start back making music. And before this, and I have pictures ready to present if the court wants to see, but I'm an officer of the court. But he was coaching Little League. He was performing. He was being a valuable member of society until arrested for charges that he was found not guilty of 2 years later, as he sat in the Fulton County Jail. I do have an address, and I did speak with his mother this morning that I can provide off the record.
Sure.
And it is a complicated situation because he's been in custody. But
he said, sure. The judge's only response was, sure. I need that to resonate for a minute, because this is what I would like to see. I would like to see people that are brutally honest, right? And this is not about tearing anybody down. This is about building up our support mechanisms. I want to hire Black attorneys to represent me, but I don't want the hoochie fest moment. I want somebody that's going to be about their business, about that moment, about that time. You can't even represent this man efficiently on this day because you too busy worrying about what's gonna happen with you and your man at the end of the day. This is some other ghetto stuff that I just don't understand this, right? This is right out. This is like Hood Court 107. This is crazy to me. None of this makes sense to me. I'm distraught by this. This is like, no, this was the same court day. So while she's over here representing her man over here, right? Her client. Her man was in another courtroom being released. You understand what I'm saying? Like, how do you... This is like, how they have the Real Housewives of Atlanta? This is like the real snaggy courthouses of Atlanta. Like, this is just disgusting. At this point, this is just disgusting. From Love to Hilton to this one to Fani. You understand? They are bringing down black women all over the place. I just stand so, ugh. It's one of those moments. But let me go back when the judge is just like, he can't even believe it.
I do have an address, and I did speak with his mother this morning that I can provide off the record.
Sure.
And it is a complicated situation because he's been in custody, but they have been working hard since.
Lady, you should have a plan. You're asking the court. Damn the judge. But it is the judge. You're asking the court to allow your client free, and y'all still don't got the details together. You're supposed to be standing in front of this person, zealously advocating for the release of your client, and where he's going to be released to is important. You think you would know. I just got the address today. You know what I'm saying, Your Honor? I done been by the place. I've seen the place. You understand? We signed a lease for 6 months. Something. You understand? Yak Gotti has an uncle who is in the music industry. He not hurting. You understand what I'm saying? Him not hurting. And obviously, this judge knows more than what we think he knows, because he about to throw in, I think he about done with her. He about to hit her with the whoop, whoop. Here it comes.
I filed this motion to find somewhere for him to go.
He would stay with his mother, or he would stay at this address that his mother was able to find for him?
At this address that his mother would, and that's something, if you don't mind, we can talk about off the record, just because of the whole situation.
No, I don't mind, and I'm trying to be elliptical about it, but it's probably wise for Mr. Kendrick, while he's on bond for these 2 cases, that it not be a house that's shared by people with whom he allegedly associated in the underlying case. And so, while if he does make bond, I encourage him to pursue whatever trade, and that could be music and whatnot, it's going to need to be in a thoughtful way where he is not bumping up against some folks that he might have in the past circulated with for all sorts of good reasons or bad reasons, but that landed him in the trial that lasted 2 years and kept him in custody for 2 years. And I don't think it's an unreasonable expectation to say, while you're on bond for 2 other matters, you're going to need to move in a different way and in different circles than you did before. And so that's the only reason why I'm asking. It's not for you to share publicly. There'll be 123 Main Street, and they'll be staying with this person. But those people need to not be people with whom he associated before, not because that's necessarily a forever condition, but if he is going to be on bond for these things, I think everyone needs a comfort level, and basically for his own safety, you're not going back to whatever life was before. And so I need to be comfortable that those guardrails are in place. So it may be, and I'll hear from Mr. Rao in a minute, that we need to have some email back and forth about what those conditions would look like, who can be around Mr. Kendrick, who he needs to not be around. And something as simple as, you can't go to those studios, because those studios are ones where we read about them and it's a great music making place, and the next day there's a dead guy in the parking lot. And it has nothing to do with Mr. Kendrick.
Personally, I feel like they friends. Looking at how like she looking back at him, I feel like all of these people are friends. You ever grew up with some people, and these are the people that you trust? Who are the people in your neighborhood? In your neighborhood, they ain't doing you no good, but these are the people in your neighborhood. These are the people in his neighborhood. And you know why I'm up here upset and disappointed, severely disappointed. I'm gonna say that again. Just severely disappointed. And I hope that anybody that views this and sees my disappointment We'll take it as constructive criticism because we need to do better. If we're going to keep basement bargain Bumpus, then we need to do better when we're before the court, because this ain't it. But I do realize, like, I'm looking at her body language, she's looking back at him and stuff like this. This is a lifelong relationship. This is the same thing that you saw in Montauk with Mr. Wrong. You understand, Mr. Right, and him completely saying, I'm not about to I'm not about to let him go, right? These are lifelong relationships that these people cannot, they cannot remove themselves from. And I completely get it. But at the other end, she needs to be running junior to somebody. This not fair. This is not fair. Right? You're biting off more than you can chew at this point when your friends are dependent on you.
But he can't be in that kind of space. He needs to find a studio up on a mountain.
Well, Your Honor, I think that we're gonna be working on getting a studio in wherever he resides, so that.
You think you're before the judge. Where is your freaking plan? This is a time when you have a plan. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Right? This is hurtful. This is hurtful. You're out of your league. You're not ready for this.
Can, take some time. He's been in the public eye for 2 years, so I think he wants to take some time to make some music and gather himself.
Okay. All right. I don't want to get ahead of maybe that bond's not appropriate, but I wanted you to know that.
He said, heifer. I don't want to get ahead of myself on this, but maybe bond is not appropriate. You know why? You think? You're not ready. You got no plan. You didn't need an emergency. Y'all needed to buck up and start to decide what y'all was gonna do.
If I do set a bond, we may need to have some exchanges, including the state, about, well, what's that going to look like structurally, so that I know what I can put in the bond that's not sealed, because there'll be a bond order that says, here you go, but there may be certain things that are under seal for a good reason. So we can work through that. But your request is a $20,000 bond across the two cases.
Yes, Judge.
Okay. All right. I appreciate that.
From what I recall, let me answer this question from Miss Indy. The evidence has shown, based on her interviews around the world, that she has represented YFN members. She had a whole nother RICO somewhere with some YFN members. So she represented the ops and was waiting on trial for the ops. Yeah, this is and she had moved from criminal into personal injury because there was more money to be made in personal injury.
Let me see. I want to try again, Ms. Jackson. I don't have any reason to believe they fixed the technical difficulties, but could you pop your mic on and say hi?
Hi, can you hear me, Your Honor?
Okay, yeah, it didn't work again. It's not on your end. It's something happening here, because everyone who is not in court can hear what you're saying. I'll ask Mr. Rao about criminal history, but if the tech folks show up in time to fix it, that would be great. And I'll look in what's in the chat. Oh, okay. Thank you, Officer Evans. Mr. Kendrick has a warrant from DCS, so that complicates things as well. But let me hear your presentation and then I'll get the warrant out to everyone.
Yes, Judge. The defendant stands before you having been indicted on 2 separate cases, which opposing counsel presented to the court. The aggravated assault, aggravated battery occurred on June 17th of this year, where the defendant is alleged to have been the main perpetrator amongst 7 co-defendants who have also been indicted, to my understanding, performing.
Let's unpack that. What do you think is dirty? He was incarcerated. He got into a fight while he was incarcerated. Everybody that's in the prison, let me prison talk. Let's just have a prison talk 101. Once you're incarcerated, even if you're being detained because of bonds, waiting to be found guilty for a job, for whatever case is before you, if you get involved in an incident and you fight on the premises and you injure a person, right, it could result in you being arrested again. Accordingly, we find out that they were arrested, which means they're fingerprinted again, for the incident, and then they were indicted on the incident. So they were indicted and they knew they was indicted. I don't know what day was the indictment. I mean, we could backtrack here, but he basically said, this guy gets up and says, listen, he's been indicted on these 2 things. So these 2 things are indictments, which is why he had to ask for bond, because when you have an indictment, then you have an arraignment. And normally at the arraignment, you are then presented with the opportunity for bond. So you get arrested, you get arrested for a crime, fingerprinted and all that other stuff, and then it goes before the judge for arraignment, and then for you to be possible bond, right? In this case, he was rearrested while still in custody, and nothing else happened because of the underlying case. And then they went ahead and indicted it. So here's what would have happened. If he was found guilty on the RICO case, this could have went away, right? Depending on what the sentence would have been, just in the interest of crime. In the interest of public dollars or whatever their excuse was, right? But they didn't do that here. So here we go. So I understand the cries that Fulton County is dirty, but we also have to take into account that there was another incident that resulted in someone being harmed, and the state had the ability, the state made a decision that they would prosecute, and that's where we are at right now. Just because the state decided to prosecute it doesn't mean that he's guilty of it. They're just exercising the process.
Essentially a vicious beating and assault on a fellow inmate, Detrell Wembley, causing severe lashes to his back by using electrical cords to essentially whip.
Okay, I just want to say this, right? Stop stealing people's stuff. If you don't want somebody to beat you with the cord, then stop stealing people's stuff. I bet you won't touch no more. What he should have did, he should have broke off your fingers. Stop stealing people's stuff. Teeth. Nobody like no teeth. So that's what you get for being a thief. But that's just,
The victim in that particular case, causing bruises both to his back, neck, as well as his face.
So I'm a little familiar with that case because there's a co-defendant, Mr. Thomas, who had a very, very old murder. You know the history of that. It's a lot of co-defendants, and I'm wondering if you are able at this juncture to dissect that case enough to say, and we're particularly concerned because Mr. Kendrick had a lead role versus he held the door open with his foot, because my understanding just from
Yo, this judge is sick with it. He said, yo, I'm going to need you to tell me. I hear what you saying. He's involved in this fight. A lot of people was involved in this fight. I'm going to need you to explain what role did he play in this fight, because they're not equally situated. And in order to determine who's responsible for what, you've got to break that down.
I'm hearing a little bit from Mr. Thomas's co-defendant Thomas's lawyers is that not all, and they weren't acknowledging that anything happened, but that not all of the co-defendants were equally situated. And I think that has an impact on how to think through what bond would look like.
That's correct, Judge. And I think that's an accurate statement that not all defendants were similarly situated. What is clear from the Fulton County Sheriff's Office's investigation is that the defendant is the main perpetrator behind the assault on the victim in this particular case. Between 7:55 p.m. On the night of June 16th up until 8 a.m. the following morning is when the assault is alleged to have occurred. And the reason why they're able to provide that.
Okay, so now I'm supposed to believe that they was whooping this boy out from sometime in the nighttime to sometime in the morning time. Okay, negligence. I just want to repeat this again for the people in the cheap seats or the people in the basement with the bargain check.
I think that's an accurate statement that not all defendants were similarly situated. What is clear from the Fulton County Sheriff's Office's investigation is that the defendant is the main perpetrator behind the assault on the victim in this particular case. Between 7:55 p.m. On the night of June 16th up until 8 a.m. the following morning is when the assault is alleged to have occurred. And the reason why they're able to provide that time frame is because in that surveillance video that they observed, Mr. Kendrick appears to be the main perpetrator going into the cell where the victim was, and he remained there the entire time. And by he, I mean the victim. The victim remained there.
Got it. Let me pause you for 1 second. IT thinks they fixed the situation. Let's try Officer Evans. Officer Evans, can you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Look at that. It's better. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Somehow that device's volume got turned down, but we're back. All right. So your view from a review, your perspective from a review of the evidence is that Mr. Kendrick would have been the lead, if you will, on the assault. I'm going to call it the assault case.
That's correct. And in addition to that, the Sheriff's Office had an opportunity to speak with Mr. Kendrick. And essentially there's a lot of commotion in the background because it's on a body camera footage, but they were able to secure a statement from Mr. Kendrick and
Mr. Kendrick or from Mr. Wimberly?
Both, but with respect to Mr. Kendrick, it's essentially he's saying, what else am I going to do? It's about respect. They're stealing my stuff. I got to do something. So I would disagree with the assertions that this is just a battery. And I think I'm more than happy to share the photographs with the court, and then the court can make that judgment as well. But we are respectfully asking, in conclusion, that the court deny bond in both cases. I will recite to the court the defendant's criminal history. He does, in fact, have 3 prior convictions, one out of Maricopa County, for which he was convicted for theft by shoplifting and possession of drug paraphernalia on April 9th, 2015. The defendant then subsequently secured a conviction for felon in possession of a firearm. This appears to be a federal case that was prosecuted by the Northern District of Georgia, from my understanding of the NCIC and GCIC, for which he was sentenced on February 22nd, 2017, and I do see at least a probation violation on 2020. There wasn't any further information as to why, whether it was a technical or substantive violation. Then on August 28th, 2017, the defendant was convicted in a Fulton County Superior Court case, indictment number 15 SC 140116, and was convicted of 6 charges: conspiracy to commit aggravated assault, participation of criminal street gang activity, theft by receiving.
All right, this is the key. This is the key charge with him. This is the one where Ashley's client, what was his name? What is Ashley's client name? Hold up. Gotta go to my book. Duke Martinez Arnold contacted him and said, hey, yo, these people jumped me and we gonna have to, these people jumped me in the club. So these are the charges associated with that when they ran and they fled, right? And these are one of the IOLA factors, right? When you resist arrest, when you flee from arresting officers. This guy is able to slip in 2 times when Yak has fled from police, right? So this is him now giving his responses to the court, not standing up there with the red bottoms coming from the, this is him now being very articulate and sneaking in his key IOLA factors, right? Remember, we're listening for the IOLA factors.
Violation of the Georgia Controlled Substance Act, fleeing and attempting to elude, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. In that particular case, the defendant was found to be in possession of a .40 caliber Smith & Wesson handgun, as well as an AK-47 in a vehicle, where he and his co-defendant in that particular case were on their way to a rival gang member's territory to commit a retaliation assault based on some prior actions. And that is the statement of Mr. Kendrick himself to law enforcement during the investigation of that particular case.
Can you give me that case number again, please?
Yes, Your Honor. 15 SC.
All the way down to the statement that Doug had thrown out of the other court. They're using it again, right? This is before they gave him Ruth Chris. I couldn't believe they ordered Ruth Chris before they ordered Ruth Chris. He's the only one didn't get McDonald's while in custody. He got Ruth Chris.
140116, and it does appear that he is on active probation for that particular case, having been sentenced to a 15 years to serve 2 sentences, with the balance of the first 8 years on probation, with the remaining last 5 years being suspended.
We're going to go back because I want to hear how much time he was supposed to have, because this is what, and this is what I was trying to say yesterday, right? When you accept a plea deal and it gives you probation, and the probation is for a period of time, it is with the agreement that you will not be arrested again. It doesn't say no new convictions. It says no interaction with law enforcement, no new arrests. That's the language. No new arrests. So it doesn't matter if you get convicted of why the police stopped you. You're not supposed to do anything that makes a person believe that you're acting unlawful. You belong in jail to them until you complete that cycle. So anything you do, they're saying to themselves, is in violation of us allowing you to be free. You violated our privilege. We're going to take it back and snatch back our time. That's why Thug and company, who accepted these plea deals, and let me tell y'all, time out. Let's take a time out. Remember that dude, Winfrey? Somebody posted that Winfrey, after taking this plea deal, he was on probation in Florida. And guess what? They revoked because now he took a plea deal in Georgia. Guess what that means? That means he violated his agreement in Florida. He would have been better off taking it to trial and not being found guilty on the trial ends. It's crazy. It's crazy. Welcome to the chat, Miss Devereaux. Welcome to the chat. All right. I'm gonna take it back a notch because I just need to get these numbers for myself.
Based on some prior actions. And that is the statement of Mr. Kendrick himself to law enforcement during the investigation of that particular case.
Can you give me that case number again, please?
Yes, Your Honor, 15 SC 140116. And it does appear that he is on active probation for that particular case, having been sentenced to a 15 years to serve 2 sentences with the balance of the first 8 years on probation, with the remaining last 5 years being suspended. In addition to that, Judge, we believe the defendant is a risk to reoffend based on his criminal history. We believe he's a danger to the community based on the fact that when he was arrested on May 9th, 2022, in between May 9th, 2022 and this date, the defendant has at least 13 reported jail incidents.
I think I posted it on my community wall, but I'll go back and post Winfrey stuff again. Winfrey stuff has, I don't know if he was rearrested in Florida or if it was just that Florida issued their revocation for a case he had down there. But I'll get you more on that. But as this stands here for Yak, so this is what happened. Yak was sentenced to 15 years. So that's in 2015. So 15 years from 2015 will bring us to 2030. We ain't in 2030 yet, okay? We're in 2024. The last 5 years, which would have started in 2025, were supposed to be suspended. So any arrest, even the aforementioned case, right, is probably what he originally violated. But listen to what they're going to say. They're going to say he violated as of the June 2024 date, when that doesn't make any kind of sense. He should have been originally violating by 2022, May 9th, 2022, when they did the arrest of him at Thug's house. But because he was acquitted of that case is now, which should be sealed in the system or in the process of being sealed. So now they're going to try to go for the 6/2024 case. So I would have a problem with that. I would just have a problem with those kind of numbers for that kind of reason. So we're just doing basic math here. We know the case began in 2015 and he was sentenced to 15 years. Okay, so we're going to take it to 2030 because 15, that's how you answer that, right? The last 5, so 2025, he ain't even hit 2025 yet to say that those are the 5 years that was supposed to be suspended. So when you see Yak running, when he was at Thug's house, he was running because he didn't want to get caught. He was still on probation. Now my question is, how the heck was he in Florida? He was in California and doing all of these good things that he was doing with that active case. So that's what we're working on, and that's what he's in violation of. So everybody clear on what they're doing? The thing that doesn't make sense is that it's for the arrest that happened in jail.
while in the custody of the Fulton County Sheriff's Office. Of those 13 incidents, 10 are allegations of violence and 3 are allegations of possession of contraband. And those include the indicted cases before the court today, which the defense is seeking a bond hearing. And many of those cases, there are other witnesses that came forward, including the most recent one on December 1st, 2024, where the allegations that the defendant was stabbed. Well, he was stabbed, and according to what another witness said, both a correction officer and an inmate, because the defendant went up to the inmate and started assaulting him. And I guess from the inmate's perspective, he needed to defend himself. Not that I agree that he should have been in possession of a weapon in the jail, but those are the allegations that have been put forth in this particular case. In every single one of those acts, violent incidents that the jail has reported, the defendant, through investigation as well as testimony or statements from other inmates, have pointed him to being the perpetrator of the assaults. And so while I certainly understand everyone is talking about the conditions of the jail, Exhibit A is before you as to why it's unsafe. So, Judge, we're respectfully asking the court to deny bond. We believe that the defendant is a danger to the community, a risk to reoffend, and a potential risk of flight given the circumstances of his arrest on May 9th, 2022, when he fled the scene after a search warrant was executed on the residence where the defendant was at the time.
Do you have any visibility into whether your office is going to be bringing other cases from these other incidents? And I ask not to press or speed anything, but more so for a management, frankly. I mean, Ms. Bumpus needs to know what she and her client are up against. And I know that your office exercises discretion and doesn't indict every little scuffle that happens at the jail. Is it safe to assume that your office has filtered through that and we've got the 2 cases, the contraband and the assault? Or what's your sense? I know.
What's his sense right now? He's working on we're gonna hold this close to the vest, and if these don't stick, then we'll come back with these other ones. This judge is saying, yo, I'm not about to play these games with y'all. I'm gonna need y'all to figure out what y'all gonna do.
You're not committing the office, you're not in that unit, but you do have some managerial perspective.
From my understanding, Judge, there is one unindicted case that's been brought to our office. So I'm going to take a look at that and make a determination. With respect to the other ones, without committing anything to the court, I don't believe we'll be going forward on any of those.
Okay, so they would be at most, if Mr. Kendrick would go to trial, could be 404B or could be linked to one of these other situations. Or it would be something in aggravation at a bond hearing or at a sentencing hearing. That's is correct. Your best forecast with maybe one exception.
That's correct.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Ms. Bumpus, want to give you the last word. I'm going to not be.
I don't know why we giving her the last word. But let's just see. She might be able to make this make sense for us. Let's see what she's doing.
Be able to rule immediately because I need to look into the probation situation that was just brought to all of our attention. And certainly want to understand that before I do something on this.
Yes, Judge. And it is my understanding that the allegation of the likelihood of reoffending, I just want to revisit that because the last time that my client committed a crime was in 2015, 10 years ago. And well, minus these jail cases.
Right. I don't know the federal one. It sounds like.
You see how that argument just sucks? Hey, the last time my client did anything was in 2015, minus these jail cases. No, lady, the language is, but for him being arrested in 2022 and being denied bond, he wouldn't be in these cases. Like, you got to bring it back home. You always got to be willing, ready, and able to argue that but for him being held without bond in the underlining case, the RICO case, but for that thing that he was acquitted of, he would not be in this situation. That's what she needs to be making a complete argument about. I'm just saying. But has she wrote that down, right? That's like her key talking point to the judge, right? Her key talking point is but for the indictment in 22 something SC blah 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 172. My client, if he was out on bond, he would have never been in these situations. But for him being held, kidnapped, call it whatever you want to call it at this point. You're making an argument to the court. Had y'all not kidnapped my client and had him in custody down at Nancy Rice Street for 2 years of his life, he wouldn't have had these issues. That's what you need to say. Especially when you coming off of somebody that is just gonna come out here and be like, yeah, well, the reason why he's example A, he's exhibit A. No, exhibit 0 is if my client had been on bond in the first instance, he wouldn't have been in Rice Street fighting for his life. He wouldn't have been in Rice Street trying to hold on to the little things that he had to go in there and whiplash a mother freaker in a moment. He wouldn't have had to let loose the goose. Yeah, I can't be no criminal defense attorney. He wouldn't have had to put fire. Because remember, my client was being detained, I don't even know what. Right now, I feel like he's being held without, like he's been kidnapped. You understand? I mean, I know you can't make those kind of nasty representations, but guess what? You can apologize later. This what you do after the case is settled. Be like, my bad, Your Honor. Because you already ghetto as heck. You understand? You in there with your Club Crucial wares, coming out of bargain basement. You fashion file to the highest pile. So the least thing you could do is make this clear. Like, I'm just like, my bad. Oh, where's that other? Wait, I have another. Where's that other disclaimer I had? Most content is intended for mature audiences. If it doesn't apply, let it fly. I just had to put that down here. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm just saying. Can we just let that settle in for a moment? Okay, let's go back and see what Attorney Bumpus.
That was resolved in 2017, but that doesn't mean it wasn't 2014 conduct.
Your Honor, it's the feds picked up this state case, so they're not two separate.
Okay, where did she get this information from? Your Honor, it's the feds picked up this state case. Can you imagine seeing her in her bikini? I would be so upset. I would definitely be. I think, well, you know what? Everything is on the job experience. People think that lawyers get a whole bunch of training, right? You don't. Kokomo, right, got more training in courtroom training than what a lawyer will get in all of their lives, right? So That's not. It's not my issue with her. She talk mad. She just be bumping her gums on the live stream, the ones I used to watch back in the days, right? I thought she was about her. I thought she'd be killing it in the courtroom. When she said, I am queen of filing on my phone. And then I saw that she filed a one sentence answer to each of the Iola factors in the statement where she says this is an emergency bond request with no emergency reasons cited. And then there's some paragraph in there that it relates to the recent DOJ report about the conditions. Yes, her arguments need to be crafted stronger. If we was like writing a summary of what she could do better, right? She needs to be more targeted with her arguments. She needs to write something, bring something to court with her that is outlining, even if they're cue cards or whatever, because she missed some key points. I'm not, like, maybe this came at her, right? But you also need to be focused. This is the same day that your husband is about to be released or got a case going on in the other courtroom. I'm a firm believer that you can't serve two magistrates at the same time. And that's what she was trying to do on this day in this way. I think that this judge is very patient, but they don't got time for this. You understand? You're asking the judge to put somebody on the street. You got to come more prepared. Like this ain't the time to be between the YouTube world, the social media, and trying to put this on. You're not there yet. You haven't mastered that craft yet. You still need to be under somebody's tutelage. Period. Is this fair to yak? This is why I keep saying this friendship, like, the one thing about the streets is that you could be friends with somebody until it's to your detriment. It's one thing to watch somebody make an argument, but it's another thing to be prepared to make this argument. Right? Only experience would really lead you into that. I mean, there were times when I was disgusted with Doug, right? But I also realized that Doug is not, he's coming into being a criminal attorney. But he has experience being an attorney. He has the confidence to stand before the judge and understand what candor of the court means. You understand? This is, at some levels, right, to Kayla, this is a reality show gone bad. She's auditioning for something that we don't even, her celebrityism, this is not the time or the place. Kayla Bumpus has a lot of growing up to do. She's got a lot of maturing to do. She's not there yet. She's balancing going viral. She's balancing TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, celebrityism but these are real people's lives at stake. This is a real man sitting in a real cell, got a real 18 stitches on the top of his head. I just gave it my own number, but those look like a lot of stitches. It might be 12. You understand? There's a lot at play here. This ain't play. This real. This the real. I'm going to take it back 10 seconds, even though I don't want to. Let's see what she said.
I was in 2015, 10 years ago. And well, minus these jail cases.
Right. I don't know the federal one. It sounds like that was resolved in 2017, but that doesn't mean it wasn't 2014 conduct.
Your Honor, it's the feds picked up this state case. So they're not two separate crimes.
Got it.
No one's going to take Kayla seriously at this point. She married Stillwell. And then she made a farce out of it. She ran to stealing them, representing something that was taken way out of proportion. What she told them didn't add up, or how they misinterpreted what she said didn't add up, and it caused the whole thing. My take on her the whole time was that she was gunning for anything to give it a mistrial. She put herself in strategic places to lead to a mistrial. You know, people say that she didn't have a conflict of interest because she wasn't married at the time. Where do you know that somebody just out of the blue married somebody in August after representing somebody in June? We're talking of a difference of perhaps 8 weeks, 10 weeks max. Every time that Shard had to make a statement and say, I'm trying to calm his wife, like tell Kayla to calm down and stuff. This is way too much. Her, Melnick, Wright. They all belong together. This is all about them making a plate and a name for themselves. Now, I thought Doug had got swapped into Mr. Wrong is Mr. Right. But I thought that Doug had got swept up into the grandizing of the celebrityism of it all, right? But it didn't prevent him from going in there and trying to do a job. He would have represented Yak better. That's why I say to myself, who paid Doug that can't pay Doug right now? Or did Doug say, this is too much for me and I want to go? Because remember, we didn't hear any of those admonishments that they made for the other, because he was acquitted, right? They didn't tell him, you still got this attorney to the end of this quarter with any other cases or whatever. It's basically Yak had to fight for himself. He has to fend for himself. This is the same woman came out here and said she's so-and-so's godmother. Like, she need... Who want to be... I mean... Look what Shard did, right? He was Stillwell in them other cases. He was Jackson when it was time. Sorry, Miss Jackson. When it was time to be released on these other cases. But he didn't. He stayed in for the other stuff. But I think some of Shannon's other stuff that I heard from with my own good ears came from an incident that happened with a vehicle. He injured somebody by a vehicle, which means that something else, some other stuff was going on. Nevertheless, we're working with we're working with Bumpus. This is what we're stuck with, and this is what I just hope that she personally reflects on this. And although she may publicly be out here telling the world that she did a great job, I hope that she is one of those people that critiques herself harder to herself than what she did. Cause it's easy to come out here and tell the world, yeah, I did the damn thing. I turned up for my client. But secretly knowing the inside, you don't like this performance. And I hope that when she's telling the truth to herself, that she shares in my disappointment and is going to do better. So when I see her the next time, I could be like, there go my girl. That's my mother freaking girl. What? What? Did you see Bottomless Bumpus up there? That's what I want to be saying the last time. She started at the bottom, but she's here. Basement bargain Bumpus. That's what I want to be saying. Like, I want to be like, she started from the bottom, but she's here. So, well, hopefully, like, you know what? These people that be fronting in the air in the room, they might have some, you know, some stuff they deal with in the shadows that we don't know about. That I'm not trying to trigger, but I hope that it does, you know. I hope she I hope she has a meeting of the minds with that self of hers. Cause self, this is wrong. And for all those other YouTubers that's like, you know, Kelly didn't do such a bad job. She did a horrible job. And the fact that y'all sitting up there telling her that she did a great job is because you want to be down with her and you don't want to be you don't want to be the one to tell the truth. Tell the truth and shame the devil. The devil is a liar. Like Mariah. You remember her? All right, let's go.
2015 is the federal.
All right, so there just was dual sovereigns and Mr. Kendrick got squeezed in both places.
Yes, Judge. So not two separate acts. And in me saying that, I don't know if this brings any or can help us get clarity on the warrant, because my client's understanding is that the federal probation then trumped the state probation, and he was to be reporting to federal probation because they had taken over this case.
Well,
Darn it! This is bad lawyering at its best. That's what I said. This is when she needs to go in and be like, you know what, Your Honor? This is some new information that we all got. I'm under the understanding that this stuff occurred where in 2015 with the feds but to start talking about one trumps the other one without having, was you his lawyer at that time? Where's his lawyer from that time? It's crazy. She's looking back at her client because she's done no due diligence of her own. This is bad lawyering. This is when somebody's paid you to do a job that they're gonna do. This is like when you're just saying, I'm gonna represent you. You pay me, I'm gonna represent you, and then you tell me what to say. This is puppet master 101. He better not have had Melnick on this other case. This is crazy, right? This is bad to even represent that you know what happened. Like this is like one trump the other, Your Honor.
And 15 is the federal
All right,
case.
so there just was
How do you know? You didn't even know the case was. You didn't even know nothing about the case until they just sent it to you.
dual sovereigns, and Mr. Kendrick got squeezed in both places.
Yes, Judge, so not two separate acts. And me saying that, I don't know if this brings any or can help us get clarity on the warrant, because my client's understanding is that the federal probation then trumped the state probation, and he
Where's your understanding? My client's understanding. He's a criminal. We might as well have just let Yak come up here and talk for himself. It's at that moment Yak would have done a better job.
was to be reporting to federal probation because they had taken over this case.
Well, I don't think legally it would be that the state probation goes away. There's supervised release. That's what they call it on the federal side. And it may well be that.
Did you hear the words that Judge just said? He said, hey, bottom. He said, bottom basement Bumpus. Calling bottom basement Bumpus. I don't know if this is what legally would happen. He went to the law. I just need to go back to this. So she reviewed nothing but what she picked up. Flirting around the YSL trial. Now she underlying I'm just disgusted. Because when you want to argue before the judge your position and you want to say, let my client out, he's not a risk of flight. He's not a danger to the community. Your Honor, he successfully served, was on probation for many years and had no violations before. You can't even say none of that. And the judge even acknowledges that whatever is happening to Yak happened in his universe of 2015. He is mindful of it. But where is her mindset? See, this is when you can't be thinking between your legs. You need to be thinking up here with your brains. This is all because in another courtroom in a few minutes, she's waiting on the release of her husband. This is a horrible day to be in court. Let's go back to my good judge. Look at her face. Look at this face.
The federal probation then trumped the state probation, and he was to be reporting to federal probation because they had taken over this case.
Well, I don't think legally it would be that the state probation goes away. There's supervised release. That's what they call it on the federal side. And it may well be that Mr. Kendrick had a very clear understanding with DCS, state probation. Hey, you report to those federal folks. But that doesn't mean there wasn't a probation clock ticking and running throughout. And so what's been brought to my attention is that there may be a probation warrant situation as a result of these two cases. So as is par for poor Mr. Kendrick, everything's all connected. And so a probation warrant situation as a result of these.
Ain't this Shard right here? Is this Mr. Shard getting up? Is this Mr. Shard? I am up here stretching this till I can't stretch no more. This is when you leave the stuff to the big boys. It's at that moment that you just know that you have just messed up. I'm so sorry. This is so crazy to me. All right, hold up while I refix this. I just can't. I'm so speechless at this moment. I'm so sorry. I just can't. It's some of these things that just have me upset. This is one of those upsetting moments in my life. All right, let's go back to listening.
Two cases. So as is par for poor Mr. Kendrick, everything's all connected. And so it may be deemed a violation of his state probation from the 2015 case that he got mixed up with having contraband and was allegedly part of the assault of Mr. Wimberly. And you know that's how it flows. And so if that warrant is out there, then we need to work through that, and setting a bond doesn't make a lot of sense until that warrant is addressed. You know full well, once that warrant is addressed, or if it's lifted or it's dismissed, or I don't know that judges tend to set bond on probation warrants, but if so, then we don't need to reconvene this session. I'll know that that warrant's out of the way, and then it does make sense to think about what a bond would look like for Mr. Kendrick for the two cases for which you represent him. If there is a warrant, that will just be a little additional time that you can work with Mr. Rao to figure out, is there going to be a third matter, or is this our universe?
It looked like he said Mr. Ra, like R-A-H, Ra.
The assault case and the contraband case.
Okay, Your Honor, and just in closing, I just wanted to reiterate for the record that those two, the federal case and the state case, are.
All right, this is what I hate, but this is a pet peeve of mine, right? When people don't listen. I have a pet peeve about people who do not listen. She about to reinforce something that don't even make any kind of sense right now. Your Honor, you know this is about the two cases. The man done gave you a whole speech. He done gave you a whole speech. I'm going to go back to what the judge said when she makes this stupid statement right here. This
one occurrence.
I got it.
And that the additional alleged acts in the jail, I mean, he has not been charged with those.
Understood. And my inquiries of Mr. Rao were more, as you heard them, which is, is there more coming that we need to be waiting for? Because fair is the wrong word, but sort of from a due process perspective, Mr. Kendrick's entitled to say, can we wrap all this up? And it may be 3 accusations and 2 indictments, but whatever the state's going to do, don't do it piecemeal 3 months later, and then 3 months later, and then 3 months later for things that have already allegedly occurred. Now, if tomorrow something happens, that's a new vista for the state. But what Mr. Rao was referring to with the 13 incidents and the contraband, that's already happened. And so I can't force the state to say, here's your cutoff and you need to decide what you're going to deal with. But it doesn't help anyone to just keep bringing you and Mr. Kendrick back. It's like, all right, this time it was a cell phone. This time it was a cheeseburger. Let's just wrap it all up if that's what's going to.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Devereaux might be on to something. I forgot this. She was educated by the worst people. Where is it? This one right here. She was educated by the worst people. This is a key point. Thank you. April, sorry, it was you. Thank you for pointing this out. I forgot when she worked on that prosecutorial team, she learned these techniques from them. To not listening, to not paying attention, to being self-centered, to being self-involved. Being only focused on what her focus was, but not focused on what is actually happening and what is actually being said. Man, when the dust clears and the dust settles and people are like, why is Yak still in the pack? Because, we talking about, the leader of the pack and this one and that one. We going to learn. It's crazy. Yeah, that was a good catch on April's. Y'all smarter than me in the chat, I'll tell you that much. All right, let's wrap this chick up.
Yeah. And I trust Mr. Rao is going to look into that. And they typically don't get every cheeseburger case. You get written up at the jail, but then as you hear about it, that's when someone says, oh, he was a saint when he was in jail. And they said, well, not so much. He was a saint who ate cheeseburgers. Okay. And we worry whether that's a big deal or not. The big deal right now is the possibility that there's this warrant, which makes bond moot in these 2 cases. But as with all.
He said moot. It makes bond moot. Like, get out of here. It's moot. And he got the chuckles too. It makes bond moot. Make my job easier. I'ma play with it for a minute. He played in your face. He played on your head top. That's what they call it.
Things in Mr. Kendrick's life, it's connected to whatever happened in 2015 because it would be that state probation. Okay. Mr. Kendrick, do you have any questions for me about what we were discussing? I'll make sure. Good lawyer, she's going to explain it all to you, but there's a chance right now, not about the facts of your case. Don't tell me I wasn't the guy who did this or that, but about the process we've been discussing.
I pretty much understand everything.
Okay. All right. Well, Ms. Bumpus will explain whatever you don't. And
him pretty much understand everything.
we will reconvene. I don't know that we'll necessarily have to have a full-blown hearing once we clear up this warrant situation. If there is a warrant, then I'm tabling bond on these 2 cases for now. If there's not a warrant or it's lifted or something, then I'll need to have a little bit of that offline discussion with you, Ms. Bumpus, and Mr. Rao about where Mr. Kendrick would be and how that would be structured. So I can see if I'm comfortable that there's a set of conditions that would keep Mr. Kendrick safe and also keep him out of the kinds of things that he needs to stay out of until he resolves these 2 cases.
And Your Honor, how am I gonna Can someone email me about the probation or?
I will.
I'm gonna let.
I will keep everyone in the loop.
Okay, thank you,
Okay.
Judge.
All right, Mr. Rao, anything else from the state? All right, for those of you who were here for Mr. Kendrick, thank you for being here. I'm sorry you had to give up your phone. You'll get it back when you leave.
And Your Honor, that concludes my business. May I be excused?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for being here.
Your Honor, that concludes my business. May I be excused? Now, that's what they all do up inside there. I saw somebody's title in this, in this universe, and it said how Bumpus lost the case. how she lost the case for her client. I'm not necessarily feeling that she lost the case for her client, but I'm not feeling like she made a case for her client. I'm not feeling like she zealously advocated on behalf of her client. And I'm going to need her to get better with that as time progresses. Because, there's a yesterday for everything. So I'm going to need her to get better with that. So there's definitely room for improvement. I'm not gonna write her off as she's a lost case. I'm not gonna do. But I will say that this is the big league. This is not the time to do practice. You understand? You can't run practice on this. This is way too big. She understands, or she at least has an inkling of what's at stake and how hard they gonna fight. You understand? The prosecution is coming from a position of a lose-lose. You understand? They done put this man on trial for every murder underneath the sun. They're holding him in that godforsaken place, hoping that he commits one in there. Because there's just some people that's bout it. You understand? I listened to an interview with Yak, and Yak was explaining how he got in a shootout in the street. Like, one thing he's definitely aware of his environment. Okay? So he's actively aware of his environment. He said he was in a situation with some dudes, and he saw some people that he hadn't seen for a minute, and they was like, yo, where you been today? He's like, yo, don't worry about me, worry about them over there. And then a bottle popped in the street, and everybody started shooting. And he said he got shot in the leg and all kinds of other stuff, etc., etc. So he's definitely on point. He definitely understands what it means to respect. You understand? If you let somebody bum rush you and take your stuff, you'll be fighting forever because they'll just be coming in there doing it again. Today is this nobody, and tomorrow be somebody else. So you need to bust a pot. I guess you get the switching. Grab you an extension cord and get to working. But no matter what it is, he put some work in. He been putting work in since he got here. I think in this whole court system, this Fulton County, as we seen it play itself out April, they still got to work with these people. Their underhanded tactics and whatever, their defense attorneys. They got to come back tomorrow with a new client, a new case, but the same old jokesters, right? We see it, we understand it, we know it. I don't know why it plays itself out the way it plays itself out, but it got moments. It definitely got moments. I'm up here trying to turn on lights now. just trying to. It's got its moments. All right. I'm going to break out, but I want to take, if I could have 5 more minutes of your time, to talk about the arrest of this dude in New York. You know, I'm calling him the vigilante, the healthcare vigilante. Just take a few minutes to talk about him for a second. So I saw something yesterday that I just couldn't bring myself to terms with. There's going to be no jury nullification, because if there was going to be a nullification, there would not have been an indictment. A juror, grand jury convened and they indicted him. So I'm not 100%, but I know he has an indictment on the state level. So I'm not sure if he has an indictment yet on the federal level. But I want to talk about something that I saw that surprised me, and I don't even know what I was looking at yesterday. Cause a few things, right? Let me just explain some ins and outs about New York City and the criminal justice system in New York City as I understand it and the things that I'm familiar with. So I'm only giving it to you from my limited perspective on what I've seen. Okay. 1, each borough, right? If you don't know New York is broken up into 5 boroughs and then upstate. And upstate are territories, right? There's like Westchester, there's Monroe County, there's a bunch of counties, right? And upstate is a little bit more predominantly white. But downstate is what they call the 5 boroughs. Downstate makes the money that runs the whole state, but upstate makes the decisions for the whole state. Upstate is normally Republican based. Downstate is normally Democratic based. The reason why they had to bring back the healthcare vigilante is what I'm going to call him. I'm not going to call him by his name because I'm not going to grandize it. I don't agree with what I saw occur, and what he is alleged to have done. So I'm not going to make his name popular. I'm not going to populate it over here, right? But I'm also not going to victimize him either, because he's innocent until proven guilty. But that whole perp walk that they did for the world, putting him on an airplane, flying him back to New York, unnecessary, unwarranted, but it had to do with money, right? This is big. When I say this is big, this is huge. New York had no other choice but to bring him back because he struck at a point in time where, one, on that day was the lighting of the Christmas tree. If you are a New Yorker, you know a few things about New York. You know there is Times Square on New Year's Eve. You know there's the lighting of the Christmas tree on that first Wednesday in December. You know the last the lighting of the Christmas tree is the first Wednesday in December. You know that before the lighting of the Christmas tree in Rockefeller Center, that the Thursday before that it is the parade, right? The Macy's Day Parade, right? We have tourists in town. People, the money is not being made no more by New Yorkers going to work down in Manhattan and going into brick and mortar buildings and so on and so forth. It is the tourists coming to the area and putting their money in there. It's the conventions like that one that was going to be held at the Hilton, where the CEO was going to speak and whatever, that's bringing money into the Hilton, right? If you've got CEOs not wanting to put conventions on in those places, you're messing with the economy, right? On something that's already struggling, right? That area is going to be super, super concentrated again. They reelected Donald Trump, which means that they're going to block off streets and streets in that same vicinity, right? Because Trump Tower is in that same vicinity, right? That's Sixth Avenue is where it was on, right? That's where that happened. Trump is on Fifth Avenue and in them same 50-something streets, right? Those higher numbers over there, 56, 57. You understand what I'm saying? It's crazy. So they had no other recourse but to bring him back. But what they're doing now is crazy, right? They overcharged him. They charging him in 2 venues, right? When I say 2 venues, the feds and the state, right? So what do they call it? It's not jurisdictions. What are they calling those? Help me, Miss Indy. 2 sovereigns. They're charging him in 2 sovereigns. That's crazy. And listen, it's the same thing with YSL, right? They overcharged, they over-prosecuted to where they prosecuted themselves out of convictions. Sometimes, in the words of Kayla Bumpus, let's keep this short and sweet. It's crazy because when you normally see the feds pick up a case, right? The feds pick up a case of this caliber in New York, right? Because New York is a beast, right? New York feds a beast. New York City. So what I'm thinking is that the state, New York State, doesn't want to hand this over to the feds wholeheartedly. And each one is acting scared because now I'm under the belief that one of them think they may lose and the other one may win. So they're trying to just pad themselves on both sides. If you have a winning case, you fight it. If you lose in the state level, then you come and you charge him with a civil rights violation against the CEO. You charge him with terrorism. I don't even know how that terrorism is going to hold up, but there are levels of terroristic acts, the threats, the intimidation, but I don't really see it. And the reason why I don't see it, I'm talking about the terroristic acts, is because he didn't post his manifesto, in my opinion. It was on his person. The people that posted the manifesto are the people that have received it from law enforcement and has given it to us as an inkling as to what he was thinking or what he was doing. It's not like somebody went to his website or went to a website or went to his YouTube page and they saw his manifesto sitting there. The most they seen was his reading list, his book list, and him endorsing some books that seemed like weird to endorse. That's the most that we've seen. That's the most that they show. None of that I can like any of those books if I want to. People give you those books to read when you're in school. So at the end of the day, no, you can't trust it. We didn't see it anywhere. So where was he engaging in the terrorism? Now, it is clear that if you fell in that class, right? If you see how I say, if it doesn't apply, let it fly, right? to many New Yorkers, right? We're not a CEO walking down the street. Like, they didn't make it make sense to all of us, right? That we, you, me, and everybody else, right? The average citizen should be afraid that there's a weirdo in the city with some gun. Because remember, the gun was alleged to have been something that takes out dogs and cats. And, you know, it was a veterinarian gun, right? That's what they told us, right? But they never had the city in fear that he was coming to get, that there's somebody out there coming to get us. Now, if the 1% was scared, guess who came and got them? The 1% of the 1%. Can you imagine being the 1% of the 1% going after the 1%? That's their problem over there. See, that's you people with money got some problems. I've been saying it all along. See, us poor people, we just been doing poor people stuff, right? You rich people, you 1%ers, y'all got some other kind of issues. Y'all got some other kind of issues. When they were talking about him going into the courthouse in Pennsylvania and shouting and whatever, and he was doing all that talking that he was doing, right? Someone said that when they listened to what he's saying, he basically was saying, yo, y'all got me in court with no legal representation. Because the day before, he was somewhere without no legal representation. He was now feeling like the 99%. When he knows that he's part of the 1%. I've been scratching my head listening to people try to dissect why he had the monopoly money, right? They want to know what was the increment of the money or whatever. How? Monopoly. What does monopoly stand for? Monopoly. What is a monopoly? We're talking about capitalism here. He's talking about stuff that the rest of us average day people are not feeling. And let me tell you something about the 1%. When the 1% advocates the way in which this 1% shot out, it's never about the 99% that they're thinking of. It's something that's impacting the 1%. Period. So whatever is the underlying issue, 99% of us, we like Jay-Z. We got 99 problems, but that 1% issue over there ain't ours. People self-identify. Oh, he's speaking out about claims and this and this and that. Deny, defend, deplete, destroy. All of that could mean anything. Until he tells you otherwise, he was looking for the parasites in the 1%. See, what I always say, let them people handle their own issues. The same way I feel about gangs when they going after each other, and I be like, let them. Y'all just go clean up the spill in aisle 9. How do you know this? There was a person standing right next to, standing there smoking outside. Standing out there like, woo-hoo, outside the Hilton, chilling. Her got away, or him got away. It fled. He didn't go shooting after that person. He had a succinct objective. One we don't understand or have had the full picture of. He needs his day in court. We're not even sure if that's the dude that's in there. We know he's the dude that you caught at the McDonald's, but we don't know if he's the dude that was standing there. I don't know. I just think the monopoly thing is the thing that stands out the most to me. And that's just, so as y'all peruse this world and people begin to formulate their guilties and their not guilties, and They're putting together their 1 cent, 2 cents to pay for. How come the rich person in the 1% can strike up the sympathy of enough Americans to put together a GoFundMe to fund for his legal defense when he don't need it? How come always the people that don't need the benefit always are the ones that receive it? Crazy. There's no cameras. Well, in the feds, there's no cameras. One of the things that is a critical thing there. Media is so funky right now with this, right? Because they the ones that don't want to add to this, they don't want to add to that. They're the ones who decided not to give us the numbers at the end of elections, and they're the ones who continue to find themselves, the mainstream media, dictating to the rest of us how life is, right? We're supposed to believe them. I got a no vote of confidence in so many things. I'm not going to be able, in the new year, as we move into 2025, right? I'm not going to be able to say to y'all, I'm going to sneak in court and get a front row seat. Because I'm not going to be able to do that. Because life is a-changing and times are getting hard, right? The economy is about to take its dips and dives, right? A lot of things are going to change in terms of things that are regulated and structured, and we're going to see a lot of change address a lot of people. And I'm downright thinking about how dangerous things are going to be. I'm more concerned about the danger, because when people ain't got money, that's when you got to be worried about who you around. As far as I'm concerned, when people got money, you don't really have to worry about them. But when people ain't got money, you got to worry about this. It's not the sketch artist, and it's the reporting out of the courtroom, the simple facts of what's happening. We're not going to get the simple facts of what's happening, and eventually the court, the judges are going to put a gag order on this. After marching him through, and this is the crazy for me, right? He's supposed to be shackled, right? He getting on airplanes. How he getting on an airplane with shackles on his feet? Him was walking like he ain't had, I'm just saying, him was walking like he ain't had no, like, yo, he was a beast with it. And then lingering in the back was the mayor. How creepy was that? I figured out why they didn't want to ride down the highway with him. Because once they got in, so they were so stupid, right? First of all, I was wondering why law and crime was cut on at 7 o'clock in the morning to cover a hearing in Pennsylvania. I was like, don't they start at 9 o'clock? So this was already Bagazy, okay? So then they showed us the license plate number of the New York vehicle that they put him in. I was like, so they gonna ride down I-95 with homie? They gonna get stuck in the tunnel? I was like, oh, this is gonna be a real shit show in the making. I thought about it. I said, people are gonna be lined up down I-95 recording this. That's what I was thinking. I was like, I'm home today. I-95 is down the road from me. But no, I wouldn't have been doing that. So when they took him to the helicopter, I was remembering. So I was thinking that when I saw the helicopter, I was saying, so you know what they're gonna do? They're not gonna put him in Rikers Island. They're gonna probably take him to Westchester County or one of those other counties that has better jails. So we're talking about jails, not prisons yet, but better jails, so for his safety, right? And he wouldn't be in Rikers Island. And then I said, no, New York is too zealous. His mother has been too cooperative. So I don't know. I don't know why they want to put him in jail with. I mean, he's in jail now with the likes of Diddy, the guy from, I don't even know, whatever thing that guy did for the money, when he cheated all the people out of their Bitcoins or whatever coins. He's sitting in jail over there. Who else is in there? A lot of stuff going on. Yeah, I don't know what we're gonna get out of. I don't know what we're gonna get out of mainstream media, but I also want to end on this note. I do have United Healthcare, and I ain't never had no issues with them. I have worked in the insurance industry at a coverage provider. I said it before, and I was in the legal capacity just like I am now, and I never seen people write policies or talked about the coverage plans in a way that would not provide people with coverage. What I will say to people, though, is companies negotiate the plans that you get. And in the packages that they receive, right? Because you could get the top tier coverage if your peoples wants to pay for it. Some companies, they elect for packages where the employees get to pick, right? It all depends on what your employer sits down and drafts for its employees. So I went back recently because of this and I reviewed some writers to see what was out there and what's not out there. It appears that many of these conversations of the people having United Healthcare problems, right? Because they keep saying like United Healthcare is one of the coverages that has the most declines, right? We're talking about numbers now. Could it be possible that they have the most clients, the most people, the most coverage? You understand? If you got a lot of people that you're covering, then you're gonna have high statistics about denials if you're then comparing it to other organizations that don't have the same per capita, right? That means the same amount of people that you have. You have to match it. But it sounds like from what I what I had heard so far, a lot of this has to do with the managed care program. And if you don't know what a managed care program is, it's when you don't have an employer and you're on some kind of coverage that is Medicare or Medicaid, which means it's backed by the government making majority of the payments and what the government is willing to pay for. Because remember, they write a plan based upon what they want to provide you with. So in the case of Hobby Lobby, right, that employer says, I'm not giving birth control to my employees on this plan because it's against our rider. So when they look at their health care and they're offering health care to their employees, they have cut out that component, right? So reproductive this and changing you from he to she and we to me, not gonna happen over there, right? Because they get to select what kind of policies they want to pay into and what they want to give out. That's the same thing in everything. So I believe, as I listened to a lot of the complaints that were coming in, they had a lot to do with managed care and being part of the Medicaid or Medicare program. This young man's family and their super wealth, or what made them the 1% of the 1%, had to do with the underlining having these nursing homes, et cetera, et cetera. There's more to this capitalistic story than what meets the eye. Listen with your good ears and keep your minds open to interpret the information and make sure you're processing it for yourself. Don't get stuck on one or every channel talking on this as if they know for certain what's going on. Spread your information base. Spread it. Don't go everywhere passing along don't regurgitate what you hear. Right? But take in what you need to take in and questions. Ask questions. You sit in these chat rooms, ask questions of the people and see if you're going to get some answers. Don't be combative. This is going to be a conversation that is combative. Ask questions. Personal responsibility is key, and many don't read the ends plans before signing. They don't read the insurance plans before signing, but for the most part, many of us don't have a say in what we're signing up for. By the time your employer gives you a plan, right, you don't know if your employer has put in place a plan that's going to give you all of let's suppose it's breast cancer. You don't know if they have cut cancer treatment to $100,000. That's it. You know, that's what the premium is for your insurance. It's at $100,000, right? You don't know what that is until, God forbid, you get in that silly situation and you're like, hey, you know what? I need to have this procedure, and they tell you it's capped at a certain amount. That's when you find out, but it's what your employer pays into. They get to choose the plans for their employees and what they're willing to pay for. Now, there are a lot of companies that they got the everyday plan, right? And then you'll see executives, right? When you're doing your annual benefits renewal, right? You'll be able to see if there is a different option for executives in the company where they have to pay more into their plan. So they then shoulder some of the burden of the expense, right? The premium. They're paying for some of the premium. A lot of companies have that, right? It's not that they're getting better service than the rest of the people on the plan. What they're doing is, by paying some of the burden of the premium, it is now elevating the plan that you get. So there's a lot of decisions that go into your health coverage that you have, right? Only those people that are on the open market, that are seeking insurance for themselves, understand this. And if we was to speak to that percentage, right, the people that own the businesses, that put the plans in place for their employees, right, they understand the nuances of this and can speak to what they're providing because they look at this. Because they're the ones deciding what you're going to get as an employee of their company. There's more to the story than meets the eye. It's not a simple people got rejected from and this guy decided to take on this burden. They can't even prove right now that he was upset because he was injured. What they can and what they do understand is that he's been MIA and may have been weaponized by somebody, or whatever you call program, whatever language they use for that, by some people radicalized or what have you. But that's all still assumptions. The bottom line, if they have enough evidence, because I'm going to tell you right now, the pictures of him sitting in McDonald's, he was wearing a skelly. He was not up there wearing a hoodie where we could say the eyes of the person in McDonald's match the eyes of the dude inside the taxi. The only thing is, if we were to believe that that was the evidence, if that's the ID they took off of him, and if that evidence is even going to be admissible for how in which how they got it from him in the first place, that stuff might not even get admitted. They might have issues with taking the ID and stuff off of him before having gotten a warrant, before arresting him, before telling him he had a right to remain silent. So we don't know all the factors. We've heard some pretty nice things. He got that attorney down there, Joe Pesci looking attorney, who was able to then make a connect and hook him up with some people in New York that are willing to take the case. It's a weird world we live in. So I want y'all to remember this, right? Rain Man, if you remember the movie, right? Rain Man was brilliant in mathematical equations and everything else, but his autism had him cut off from society. Just because a person is smart doesn't mean they're still connected with society. You understand? It doesn't mean that they know how to socialize. You understand? And being part of the 1% of the 1%, maybe one has an issue socializing. We don't know. The weirdos that was his friends that decided to come out and talk about, well, we all was living in this rooming situation. I was like, sorry. Wait a minute. This is sorry. All right. Has created dialogue. Depressed man on a suicide mission. I go back to the officer saying he became extremely nervous at that moment. I don't know what that moment was like for him inside Mickey D's, because I'm going to tell you right now, I wouldn't want my last meal to be a hash brown from McDonald's. I'm just so sorry. That's not like my best, that's not my best thing. That's just my opinion. So I just wanted to share that with my audience. I don't have a problem expanding on this as time goes on. I'm still considering if it's a case I want to cover. I do want to cover it, but I want to cover it, but I don't want to cover it if it's gonna be. I'm still thinking about, because it's a messy situation. Listen, a lot of people have mental illness, right? All I could tell you is my own experience, all right? I know when I was hit by a car because some crazy heifer decided that one morning she's running late, taking her little pickaninnies to school, and she's gonna dip and dive down the street as I'm crossing the street and hit me, and then gonna think she gonna run away, right? I remember my road to recovery. I remember distinctly the narcotics, right, that they give you to help you deal with the pain. I just remember not being comfortable in who I was. I wasn't comfortable in the size I was becoming. Nothing about what I was seeing had me feeling good about myself. The pain was ridiculous. I had envisioned, like, I got the police report. I had envisions of snatching a heifer up and doing her putting some work in. Okay, you understand? Like, it made me very hostile at some point. I remember all the negative stuff that I was being told that I would never be able to do again. Today, I do all those things without any issues. The thing I had to give up was their narcotics in order to make things better for me, right? A holistic approach, a weaning off. Yes, I needed it for that moment, but I don't need it indefinitely. And you don't want to become addicted to stuff, right? I remember that, right? But a lot of people don't have that self-will, or their experience didn't bring them full circle, or something else explodes in them, right? I've always been I've got to do, I got to take care of me. Like, survival has always been my motive, right? So I can't have anything that feels debilitating in the way, holding me back from being at my full potential, right? So I don't know what this person went through, because we don't know his experience. We just know what a lot of people will want us to believe he experienced. I also don't have no pins in my back, even though I was told, like, you're never gonna run and you won't be able, you won't be able to walk. You'll walk with a limp or whatever. Like, all of those things are so not the story. You understand? Oh, how about the short-term memory stuff that all of the brain, like being hit and a traumatic brain injury and what could result from it, and the swelling, from time to time. I still have buildup that comes up that I have to deal with, that, when I do have the buildup, I have people that'll make videos and make fun of it. It's just, it just be those moments in life when you just know. I don't know what homie went through. They're going to the movies tonight to see the movie. What movie is out? I don't forgot what movie is, but people is going to see a movie around here. And I'm going to take myself to the Cheesecake Factory while everybody is in this movie. What's the name of the movie? Mario or somebody. No, it's not Mario. What? Sonic. They're going to see Sonic. I was supposed to see something, but I don't want to see it without my daughter. So I have to wait till Tuesday to see it with her. But some other movie came out and I was supposed to see with her, but she's going to see Sonic with a whole bunch of friends, and they're going to have a big slumber party, etc., etc. Anyway, questions, comments, concerns from the chat. I love when I be back in my rhythm. Questions, comments. In the morning, I be rushing because I have to go places. As a new subscriber, I'd like to thank you, Monica, for sharing your knowledge and time. Thanks to everyone for being so welcoming. Well, we love to see you back again. Do come in. Bring a friend next time. Anyway, I appreciate everybody being one of my good neighbors. It's a beautiful day in Mo's neighborhood. A beautiful day for a cutie. All right, I'm going to sign off. Next week's schedule, just so y'all know. I have to go in the office on Monday, Tuesday. So I'll be in the office Monday and Tuesday. I ain't got time to mess with you people in your Santa Claus stuff. So I'm gonna leave y'all alone on Wednesday. I think I'm gonna be so I'm gonna be home Wednesday and Thursday of this week. So I'll be in the office Monday, Tuesday, Friday. And then next week I'll be in the office Monday, Thursday, Friday. So that means I can hang out with y'all on Tuesday. Yeah, you know what? Yeah. So I'll make it my business to do my end of the year where we do the word of the year, which was not that interesting this year. We normally do, so just to walk y'all through some things that we normally do. We normally do the word of the year, and then we do the words that we want to get rid of, that we never want to hear again. I'll start to make the community wall. So think of the words that you just wish they would retire. And if you never heard the word again, it'll be too soon. And we do that, and we really start to go into 2025 or go into the year ahead, the year coming, on a page of what we want to do differently, what our new expectations are. And that's it. Just mapping out, what our new year is going to be like. And that's it. So I hope that this been real for me, and I hope it was real for you. And I definitely appreciate all the newcomers and all the contributions. So let's go.
Here we go, here we go, here we go. Welcome to the show, Monica, Mo, justice in the mix. Bringing truth with no tricks. Mama Mo, here we go, Welcome to the show, Monica, Mo, justice in the mix. Bringing truth with no tricks. Saturdays our day to shine. Focus on books and storylines. Courtroom drama commentary. Keeping it real, never scary. More justice, dropping wisdom. Weekend vibes, you can't miss them. Open your mind, let the truth be told. From the cases big to the bold. Deep dive into legal scenes. Breaking down what justice means. Analyzing every clue we find. No stone left unturned, no mind left blind. Gather round, it's time to see justice served thoughtfully. Books and cases, join the ride. Monica, more justice by your side. Oh, justice dropping wisdom. Weekend vibes, you can't miss them. Open your mind, let the truth be told. From the cases big to the bold.